You are live. Hi, everybody. We are going to introduce our panelists for today. We have Kendra in the house, HDTV, Mistaken, and AP. I am Shin Monet, and this is a Chic critique. I have no.
What's going on, everybody?
Oh, you sound real country. Do it again.
That was intentional. Yeah.
Say it again. Let me see how it sounds.
Wait, what did I say?
What's
What did I
going on,
just say?
everybody?
Hey, you're saying everybody.
No, you did it perfect the first time. Do it again.
What did I say?
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, everybody? Yeah.
No, it wasn't as good as the first time. If I could listen, so I know when I'm on here talking, I know sometimes I'll try to put my southern, I'll
You
try
very
my
country. It comes out.
southern. Duck Dynasty is country. I'm very southern.
Alabama is
Bell.
country.
No. Alabama does not mean so. There are countries in Alabama, like there is very country in Alabama, but the country them down there the way you want to you're going up there yonder. That's
that
country.
Like Boomhauer from King of the Hill, basically.
Right. So the southern is your southern belle. You must talk in a certain manner, my dear. Howdy, y'all.
Oh, you got that down pat.
That's how I talk for real. I just try to not talk that way. But that's how I was raised to talk, like a southern child, like a southern belle.
So when you go back home, because I noticed this about my mom, when she gets around her family, this West Virginian lingo comes out. So are you like that when you get home to Alabama and you start talking real?
So when I go home to Alabama and I see like just like my cheer friends, I be like, "Hey, girl, how you doing?" Oh my gosh, I have not seen you in a long time. That's how I naturally talk. But what has happened is we've been in Atlanta, because I've been in Atlanta now for almost 24 years. And even though we're in the South, it's not really Southern like that. And so I have tried to change the way I talk. And I get a little bit in between, you know what I'm saying? Because I can't, you obviously you have a foundation a certain type of way, so it still comes out. But I try to not be as Southern.
Okay.
But that's
I know when I go back to New York, when I'm here, people can hear my New York accent depending on, how where I'm at. But when I go back home, they'll be like, damn, you sound so Southern. And I can't hear it. I think I sound the same, other than saying y'all. Like I never said y'all before until I got down here. But oh God, you sound so Southern.
Yeah, so anything that's New York has a hard, like they're they're not as bad as New Jersey, but they have this hard accent, right? It's like so New York. So I can imagine, so I can see why they'll think that you kind of died that down a little
I've
bit.
softened since I've been here. Now I got a little drawl.
Yeah, when you get mad though, it come out. I don't know about that.
I didn't sound country just now. Hey y'all. I say y'all. That's in my vocabulary now.
It's also the pitch. Hey
y'all. Oh, okay.
And how did you say it? Say it again. We're gonna get to the point, y'all.
Hey y'all. Nope.
Where are you from, Kendra?
I'm from North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm country too. Well, Southern.
No, you remember Mommy? What's her name? Mommy 3.
Oh yeah, she country. She is country.
And she's country. I love you, Mommy 3. I love Mommy 3. I miss Mommy 3.
How are you? Where are you from, AP? You from North Carolina too, right?
I live in North Carolina.
You're not from North Carolina.
Where are you from?
Best way to say it, I was born on an army base, spent some time overseas, spent some time in the Midwest, spent some time in the South, graduated in the South.
So you all over the place.
Yeah, Army.
Yeah, both mom and dad were in the Army until Pop got arrested for trafficking narcotics across state lines as a military police officer.
You just put your daddy business. I was like, you just put your daddy business.
Right, you didn't have to tell me Pop's business. Oh, I'm clutching my pearl.
That's Southern. Oh, I'm clutching
I'm clutching my invisible pearl.
Bless your heart.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
HD, where are you from? You from Maryland, right? Or DC?
Yes, that's where I'm from.
Maryland. Okay. Yeah.
No, guess.
Oh, I thought it was Maryland.
No.
Virginia?
No.
All right. South?
No.
The West?
Just tell us,
It's so complicated.
Northeast? Jersey?
Listen, my parents are from up north. So even though I'm from Virginia, I don't sound like I'm from Virginia.
Okay.
What people like they're from Virginia sound like?
They don't sound like me. Because anytime people like ask, hey, where you from? I'd be like, guess. You can never pick because I don't sound too northern, but I also don't sound too southern because my mom is from Connecticut and my dad's from Indianapolis. So I got two very different, distinct, like clear speeches. So it's just like I just sound like I don't know. I sound like an alien, honestly.
The only country word I used to say before I got down here was the way that we pronounce daddy. I could say it now, but we said because my mom, she's from West Virginia, so they got there, but so we picked it up, so we would say daddy. So it's so that was
I be saying Dee too.
So that's the only
to my daddy.
Yeah. So that's the only Southern word we would say until I got down here. Now I'm saying y'all, and I'll be like, daddy, all of that now.
So from New York, do you say use?
No, that's Southern.
Use. Like my aunt, she be like use, or she'll say soda, or like that's how she talks in Connecticut.
Like you people.
Like use. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like
don't say that
instead of saying you all or y'all, they be like
don't
you.
say that in the South. Don't get that to the South. We say y'all.
Right, we definitely say y'all. I'm definitely a y'all.
Yeah, I've heard y'all. I never heard
you. Never heard use?
No.
Man, that's all.
It's
that's all my grandma. All of them. Connecticut. That's
where's your grandmother
from? She's from Connecticut, New Haven.
Born and raised?
Oh yeah, we gotta get to the point.
She Portuguese.
Because we are super late.
Okay, see, that's something different.
Yeah, they may be using.
Yeah. I ain't never heard no use in my life.
Me neither.
Use better get your. Oh wait, that's some gold. She probably back, baby.
You pronounce the ER on better. You don't say better. It ends in an A.
Better.
You better. Yeah, exactly.
You better.
You better.
All right, so we know. So this is very diverse of us. I wouldn't even say very black because I think that this is very regional conversation because I think that it has been I would say it's something that only African Americans do. I think this is when I speak Southern, it's Southern people, no matter the race. Absolutely. So I came up with black people are not being mistaken. We're talking today at a restaurant. And we were talking about, people that we normally talk to. Like this is the people, like if there were no internet, these are the people who would be in our who we have access to, right? And what we've realized is that we're just not the same. Because we cannot, we as much as we try to relate to some of the issues that take place, especially in these spaces, it's so hard. We can get it, but we don't get it. Like it's sometimes it's hard for it. And when we were trying to explain some of the things that go on in these spaces, like some of the thought processes, the things that we do, then people at the table, men and women alike, were like, huh? What? Like they couldn't even imagine some of the conversations that take place in these used to spaces, which made me come up, well, we're just not the same. We are not. Now there are things that Black people we deal with in everybody deals with, right? All Black people. But for the most part, I don't be seeing what y'all be seeing. I don't be seeing it. And go ahead, mistaken.
No, go ahead, finish.
I be on the Lapeef chat, the group chat, and the one on Facebook, and some of the topics. It's like, even when you remember last week we got a video on, and it was a German lady, and when I went back and I looked at the German lady, I think I got focused on so much of the mating part that I didn't even realize what she was saying. She said, Black people don't have a family. Y'all ain't got no family. Black people don't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Y'all ain't never eat breakfast, lunch. Y'all never had y'all grandmama ask y'all, baby, what you want to eat? You ain't never been fed by nobody who loved you like that. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I'm just fortunate. Maybe y'all ain't got no family. Because when I was growing up, Black people had family reunions. They still do. It was a big gathering. You knew your grandparents on both. Well, for me, I knew my grandparents on both sides, my family on both sides. A lot of people had their hands into raising me. And so, and that's what I saw even in my city. It wasn't just me, it was in my city. People had families. Even if your daddy wasn't daddy and like he was supposed to daddy, his parents still were very involved with you. You knew who, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you liked it a little bit different, but he still had his hand. It wasn't like he was just gone, and so it was just hard for me to understand that maybe there are people who didn't have that. They didn't have grandma. They didn't have, Sunday dinners. They didn't have, you remember the TV show Soul Food. They didn't have those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all?
Well, that's what I was saying.
Like, you try to backtrack.
That's what I was saying earlier today, is that if it wasn't for these spaces, so in one aspect I appreciate, but then on the other aspect, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, is the fact that I realized that I lived in a bubble and I didn't think that I did. Looking at from where I grew up. So I grew up in the hood. So I have that experience of being in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And then, moved out of hood, moved into a house. Most of my life I had lived in an apartment, moved into a house. So I got that experience of being in the house and being in the, where I was at, that was considered suburbs. And then moving here in the South. So I thought that I was, worldly, that I was exposed, right? Meeting different people. So I thought I had a very open, understanding of people, until I got in these spaces. And I realized that I was kind of in a bubble because I was attracted, the people that I was around, that was my tribe. We were pretty much, on the same wavelength. You might have, an outlier here or there, but for the most part, everybody was pretty much the same. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is people. Until we got in these spaces, like, this sounds bad, but hearing and seeing what some of the stuff that Black men are saying, and I'm not talking about y'all because I feel like that's still a tribe thing. is that Black men appear to hate Black women. And I've never felt like that before. That, and then the other thing is me starting to feel like I don't like a lot of Black men. And I've never felt like that before, because the Black men in my life were not representative of the Black men that I'm hearing in these spaces. And I don't know if this is a new thing or it's been like this, because I don't be out in them streets like that. So I have no idea. So being in the YouTube streets, I don't know if it's a true representative of what the streets are really like, because I'm in the streets where I'm at. And so the people are pretty much the same. And what I experience on a daily basis is not what I see on these YouTube streets, if that makes sense.
I think a lot of the things that you are experiencing is that oftentimes men have trained themselves to not say anything. So the experiences of men at large that wasn't in your circle, you probably didn't really interact with them on a deep level. And so now everybody have access to the same medium, right? And then the people who are mature are speaking, the people who are immature are speaking, and these things, there's some overlap between, some of the people that you would like that are Black and some of the people that you don't like that are Black. Because even some of the men that you know and that you care about and can articulate well to you, there's stuff that they experience that other men that you probably don't agree with or don't like also experience. So I think that it is true that you were probably in a bubble, because we tend to stay around the people that agree with us or do a lot of the same things that we do. And like you said, the people that really don't fit in those spaces, we don't pay them much mind. We kind of just outcast them in our mind and on our spaces. And then we only focus on the people that do the things that we do, which is why, even for me, the reason why this space was interesting to me is because it was opposite of my life. I was just like, yo, like I didn't have the same problems that these brothers did. But when I heard it at this place, I heard it at this place, I heard it in this state, on this channel, in this country, I was just like, well, dang. Either one or two things is happening. Either everybody saw the same show and was like, that's true, or this is the experience of a lot of people that I have not experienced, and that this helps paint the larger picture, because it's easy to think that the people in your circle speak for the majority, but in reality, most people only got like 5 to 10 real people in their life. What about all the other people that you work with, you go to school with, you drive past? You're not paying attention to these people because you don't have any connection to these people. So there could be hundreds, thousands, millions of people that could feel opposite of the people that's in your circle, but you don't know because you don't have a relationship with them.
Okay.
Well, no, what I've noticed, and I remember when I first started getting into this space, what brought me into the space was KS, and it was a woman that kind of pointed him out, right? So I'm listening to him, and in my mind, listening to him, it was him talking, having conversations with these women who were trying to get different results in their lives. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty dope. And it wasn't until after that when my YouTube algorithm slightly changed and I hear men complaining about women to women, which was just something that I never practiced. And I had to kind of listen deeply and intently to understand their perspective, because their perspective was never a perspective that I carried. And then listening to, this conversation that we're having tonight, HD, you just kind of mentioned also, you were like, this was opposite of what I thought. So I've come to sort of a synopsis on it. What I've noticed is in the white space, it's the same when we're this space on the white side, it's the same 15 to 20 people talking the same talking points. In this space, it's about the same 15 to 20 people talking the same talking points. So I think we live more real life, and the bubble is YouTube. I didn't hear. I had never heard of the word simp until I got to this space. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. And when we talk about women and the negative behaviors, I typically would just, if I ran across a woman like that, and I've said this on previous shows, I would typically let them be. Wouldn't engage in any type of conversation with them. So I wasn't having the same experiences that I heard in this space. So my conclusion is the space is the bubble. Like there are tons of channels, right? Like my algorithm pulls in probably 7 black uh, 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 YouTube channels and about 3 of the white YouTube channels, and it's literally the same audience and the same people. So which one is really the bubble?
I think both of them on the bubble because you gravitate to the same people that do the same thing. So just like you do in your personal life, you gravitate to a certain set of people. And the people that want negative reinforcement, they're going to gravitate to that. That's why I think that a lot of people that gravitate to this show, there's sometimes they might migrate to the same shows that we watch on other platforms, but you start seeing that some of the people that watch the show can sometimes be a little bit more reasonable than people on other channels and other panels. So we just naturally just create our own bubbles because we are attracted to the things that, you know, we kind of agree with.
Hi, MJ. Would you like to have? I know because we just start talk. We just talk around here. Did you welcome? Would you like to say anything?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. I just want to say, I love this conversation. I love the topic, right? To the point of mistaken, the same experience happened to me. When I joined YouTube, it was about like 5 years ago. I started in the debate league. Then I went to other well-known content creators. I'm not going to say their name, but well-known content creators that's around in the space. And from there, it kind of transitioned where I started meeting new content creators, and then I started to see the toxic behavior on certain channels and things of that sort. And also the rhetoric, right? On both sides, from women and from men. And I never thought in a million years that Black people in general thought this bad about each other, right? And like, because that was never my experience in the household. Well, you know, with the women folk in my household, even the men folk in my household. Not saying we were perfect, but it was not this type of vitriol. It wasn't being shown, right? So when I came into the space where this type of vitriol or rhetoric was being had, I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that Black men actually thought this way. And I also couldn't believe that Black women actually thought this way with each other. And then to add on to that, it's just like, yes, it is a part, some of it is a part about what spaces you travel into, right? Because you tend to take in what you know, whatever channel you go to, you tend to take in what is being delivered to you. And then sometimes you can get caught up in that, right? And thinking that this is how the world is. And then that's why they're the, like, what is that statement? And most people say, log off, go outside, go touch grass, go get in touch with reality again, because you will actually believe that this is everybody's standpoint on everything. And, you know, and it's not healthy. So that's all I wanted to say. But yes, please continue on with the conversation and I'll jump in.
Well, I was going to say, I even noticed with even with part of the conversation we were having earlier when we were at the restaurant, was that I noticed a change in the negativity towards conversations in regards to Black men. And I'm saying Black because most of our audience is Black. Most of my interaction are with Black men, which is very different than the Black men that are in these spaces. And so I personally, for me, when we first started this, how long has this been, Shan? Like, we're going on year 2, right? This year, this summer would be year 2, right? Of being in like these YouTube streets like this. 3? No, I think it's 2. Well, either way.
No, it had to be like 3.
It was 3?
It's got to be closer to 3.
Really? Wow. Is that I look at the difference between when we first started versus now. And I think because we were new to this, I think the opinion and openness and being new, that we were kind of blinded a little bit to the reality of the YouTube streets in this space. And so, but then after a while, when you're in a certain environment, you're going to get dirty too. You know what I mean? And I think for me, it was being intentional with not spending so much of my time and energy. Because before we first started, you're looking for other content. You're looking for what other people are saying. So you're scrolling through, looking at the same thing over and over again. You're hearing all of the negativity because you're looking for a topic to talk about. So you're like, oh, we should talk about this. And so then your algorithm starts to change. And so you're just being fed all of the same stuff over and over again. Then you have your show, and then you hear the same stuff that you've looked on here being regurgitated when you're having these topics. And then you're looking and reading in the comments, and the comments it's just like, it's just so much that you have to unplug. Like, I did fast, like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta, recalibrate, because I started seeing that my mind was shifting, even though my reality was very different, because my husband don't represent these men. My brother-in-laws don't represent these men. When I go to work, I don't see these same kind of men. So my reality was not necessarily a reflection of what was going on in these YouTube spaces. But this ended up having a greater impact because I spent so much of my time on IG. And it's like, now I felt that my conversation or my thoughts about men, after hearing this side of the story or their perspective, started making me be like, yo, Black men got issues. Like, that's how I started feeling. Do I think they do? I do think they do, but I think, Black women do too, because also in these spaces, I'm hearing the same hurt, the same fear, the same anger from the female perspective as well. And like what you were saying, MJ, I did not know that it was really this war, so to speak, how they say, the gender war, whatever. I had no clue that this was what was going on. And I don't know, it's sad. And I don't know how we would come back from this, because after a while, people get tired of fighting. And it's not that they necessarily lean into each other after they finish fighting. A lot of times when you finish fighting, you be like, F you, I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm out. And that's the part that I'm scared about, is the fact that how do you recalibrate and get men and women, Black men and women, back together? And I'm not sure how that's going to be able to happen, especially if your interaction with Black men and women is in YouTube.
And that was the next question. Did anybody else want to mention anything other than that? But that was my next question. Like, how do we fix this? Because I'm with you, Tara. It comes a level of disgust, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm just disgusted, like it. You never want to be that way. And I know when women get like that, they like, so that's a scary thing to go through. And it could be very well the same with men, because I see what women are out here doing, you know what I'm saying? Like I see that as well. So what do you think would be so do you think there's a solution? Like do you think, how do we solve that? It's hard. That's like finding world peace.
I think the best thing that can possibly do is I would say locker room talk needs to go back to the locker room, and tea time with the girls need to go back to tea time with the girls. Not everything should be online, right? It's too much exposure. It's too much outside influence. We're not only just being influenced amongst what we do to each other, we are also being influenced by the opinions of others who don't live our life, who are not in our circumstances, and who are not dealing with our situations. Whether we want to admit it or not, we are subconsciously taking in other people's perspective and perception of what is going on in our community. So I think that if we can leave the conversations that needs to happen where they should be at and present more of a, I wouldn't say a grace, but more of a respect level for each other on YouTube or on social media, then from there, I think that we can start to generate even more respect for each other's opinions and how we view things, right? Because I'm not expecting men to view things how I view through the lens of a woman, and I'm not, and vice versa. I'm not expecting that, right? But there should be a level of respect that we should have for each other. You know, a sense of commodity, like, hey, listen, we're both going through something in this system, in this society, in this world. So there should be a level of respect. We tend to show it to strangers, but we can't show it to us. And one of the things that brings us together is the simple fact of our nationality. If the fact that we are from this country, if the fact that we are of this race, if the fact that we are melanated people, these are the things that do tend to bring us together. So if we wanted to act on that, then let that be the foundation for other respect to grow.
Yeah, I think the only way to start fixing these things is when the uncomfortable truths come up, not being overly offended. Because if you actually hear the truth of men and you hear the truth of women, it's very easy to hear these things and get easily offended. And it's easy to offend people because, like I was saying before, is like you don't tend to really get into people's lives like that. Even the people that you're close to, you might not even know them that well. There's so many people that commit suicide or they are going through things on a day-to-day basis. You talk to them all the time and you don't ever know what's really going on with these people. And when you actually start listening to the issues that people have and you actually genuinely care, then that's when you can start getting stuff done. It's just that I think we both, men and women, feel entitled to the things that we experience. And so when we hear the opposite experience from the opposite sex, it causes friction because it doesn't make sense to us. And then also we receive information differently. Men are like, yo, like, here's a solution. I don't care how I feel about it. But women are like, well, I know this is a solution, but if you don't change the way that you feel about this, even though we have the solution, we might create the same problem. So our reasonings for tackling a problem, is also going to cause friction. So until we actually begin to just realize that, you know, there's some of the stuff that is deep, but most of it is not. It's very easy to start mending the damage in the relationships when both sides can feel like they're heard, that you can truly be able to speak and like just be recklessly honest. You can just say, like, yo, I don't like you because you do this and you do this. But oftentimes when people say that, they internalize that information and miss the point of this person telling them how they feel. And I think if we listen more than we talk, I think we would get a lot more done, because it's easy to want to interrupt people when they're giving their thoughts out because oh, that's not right. Oh, that's not all the way correct. And we sometimes kill the bridge that actually makes people want to connect with you because of all of the small little communication errors that we experience in our conversations. So I think it's possible to fix it, but I think majority of people are going to fall by the wayside, and the people that actually do work well together are going to be the small example that gives hope for the people that want to change from the negative lifestyle.
So I would have to agree with MJ. I think that there are certain conversations that don't need to be broadcast, right? It's okay to have your opinion on things, but like your mama say, we're going in the house, stay in the house. It's kind of like that situation, right? And I think that when you are having a conversation with people, it's a way to talk to people to to have them receive it well. Okay. And especially when you're talking to an entire race, gender of people, you have to be careful about, and then when you're talking about negative, you have to be careful about not trying to include everybody in that. And sometimes in these spaces, it's like these, you don't say, okay, there's a subgroup of these women who act this way. You tend to say, oh, Black women, but that's broad. Like, that's like Black men. If I had a blanket and I said Black men are in jail, you wouldn't perceive that, right? Because you're like, well, I'm not in jail, right? That's an unfair statement to say about me. But that's some of the stuff that is going on in these spaces, in it in both ways. I'm not just saying Black men to women, but also women to men, and it becomes very toxic. It's very, I don't. It's just not a. I don't see it being a productive conversation. It almost feels like just a battle. Just, you're just trying to hurt the other person, and at the end of the day, you're just hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself because if you have a Black kid who is a girl and you're a man, you're hurting your daughter. If you have a Black kid and and you have a son, you're hurting your son. Like, because at the end of the day, we're all Black, and you think they care if you're a Black man or a Black woman? No, you just Black. Okay. And if we're out here being moving the way that we're moving, as if we don't have any self-control, respect for ourselves, why should they respect you? Why should they respect your children? You don't even respect yourselves.
See, this is the thing though, too, is that I think what happens is like how you said, I think HD has said this as well, about like birds of a feather flock together, right? So I think what has happened is you have what I'm going to say a small group, because I think a lot of it is the minority, but because they're on YouTube or on IG, is presented as the majority. So when you have a subgroup of people that share like experience, like, oh, women ain't ish because they've had bad experiences with women who weren't necessarily of the same elk, like the level of women that they should have been going after, or vice versa. Women going after men that is not at their level that they should have been going after. And so they continually experience these negative interactions. In their reality, now it becomes all men or all women. And then they get in these spaces and then they end up having access to each other where they normally probably wouldn't have. But now, since you can access so many people, now they start finding each other. And so now it creates a bigger group of a minority that now sounds like the majority. And when you separate yourself from YouTube, if you really look at your daily interactions, like that's how I had to check myself, because even I started looking at Black women, some kind of way, because I'm like, I'm open to listening to both sides, right? So I want to see if what the men are saying is true. So I started like looking at, black women sideways, but I realized that a lot of the energy that I would receive was based on the energy that I put out. Like I made a conscious effort when I came across black women, because that was one of the things that I would always hear with black men in these spaces, to say black women always look like they got attitudes. They don't look like they can be approached. They carry themselves. They don't smile. They don't seem friendly. They don't da 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 da. So I was, hearing all of that, but I was just like, I know a lot of times for me, when I'm about my business, I have a serious face on. It's not like I'm walking around being about my business and I'm like, like what? No, like if I have, like in my mind, I'm thinking about my list. So I'm like, okay, I'm going over my list. I'm not focusing on other people around me. I'm just focusing on what I need to do. Right. So I think sometimes black women's disposition is being misread. Right. And so I noticed that I was like, all right, I'm going to be intentional about my interactions. And so if I see, a black woman, I'll smile and be like, hi, I always get a response back. It was nothing, never negative, ever. And so I'm like, okay, is it just because I'm another female? They don't feel like I'm trying to get at them or whatever, but I'm listening to what men are saying. But I noticed that when I initiated a warm, like, energy, that it was reciprocated. So I really think a lot of times we're putting these perceptions on the other based on our experiences without actually creating a different energy. So we're putting out like, damn, she looked mean, but if you look at yourself, you're probably not looking receptive either. And so neither one of y'all are going to cross paths where it seems, like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like seeming friendly. And so I think a lot of times being in these spaces, we're projecting our own issues onto other people. And then when they reflect that same energy back, we feel justified in how we feel when we're talking about them. And when we're in these spaces, a lot of times I don't really think it's about really trying to hear what the other person is saying. It's about proving your point and then trying to make you look a certain way or make you agree with me, not understanding that we can see the same thing and have different views. If I have a quarter, but I'm looking at it from this side and you're looking at it from the other side, we're both looking at a quarter and we're both right in what we see, but we can also agree to disagree. Or you can have two truths at the same time. And I don't think we ever approach conversations in that manner.
I agree. The whole thing of two things can be true can help with creating a bridge for people to be okay with the opposite sex. But oftentimes when we have our conversations, men think that they're more right than a woman, and the women think that they're more right than a man. And also, we don't give credence to just because you're not part of the group doesn't mean you can't have an accurate opinion about said group. Because the perspective of men about how women live their lives, there is some credence to it. There's pieces that we're missing that the women obviously have and they can bring clarity to. But if, like you said, when you're serious and you're about your business, you have a serious face on. When brothers are seeing you and then they see another black woman and they see another black woman that have the exact same face, even though you're not intentionally trying to create the atmosphere where guys think that you're unapproachable, we do things subconsciously that tell a story to the people who don't even interact with you. Because it's very easy for people to judge you from a distance because, you know, the first thing that people can do is look at something and make sense of if this is something that I want to engage with. So I think when I think when we have people that actually like genuinely want to fix things, I think we would get to a better place. But too many times people don't want to fix anything. They just want to air out their grievances. And I think that's where the majority of our issue comes from. The men feel like they're not heard, the women feel like they're not heard, and they just want to bark their feelings instead of say, you know what can we do to fix it? If we had more people that were willing to be like, you know what, here's what I can do to fix it. Do you think that this worked for you? And I think that that would be the small step to start building the bridges for each other to actually start getting to the success that we're looking to get to.
See, I look at what like Team Fatty piece is like how he said two opinions can be had, but there's only one objective truth. And here I am about to disagree. And the reason is because if I give you the example of the quarter, right? When you say that there's one objective truth, I think the one objective truth is when both people concede and find the median in this situation. So if I'm looking at the back side of the quarter and you're looking at the front side of the quarter and you're saying based on your perspective from what you see, you're describing the front side of the quarter, you know, there's George Washington on there. I see an old guy with this and that. And I'm like, no, on the back, I see like, no, it's a bald eagle, it's an eagle with the wings spread, and it says it there. Both of us are absolutely right. That is the objective truth. We're literally looking at the same thing. And what I'm saying is absolutely right. What he's saying is absolutely right. So in that regard, either we agree to disagree and still be right, or it's like, you know what? I don't see your perspective. Let me see your perspective. Let me truly try to understand from your perspective. And I think that's where empathy comes in. So putting it in a literal sense, that means I'm going to turn the quarter around and try to look at his side of it. And then when I turn the quarter around, I'm able to see what he's saying. And then now that he sees it from my perspective, he's able to see what I'm saying. And then we can have come to a median where we're understanding each other's point of view. And I think a lot of times that is not what happens. We want to stand on our side of the quarter and say that we're right and our truth is objective and not really see the other person. But if we're trying to, let's say, come to a median would be is, well, you know, I don't necessarily see that part, but you know what part I do see? It is silver. So that becomes the objective truth that we can agree on, is that no matter which side that you look on, both sides are silver. And I think a lot of times we don't look for that connection. We're just stuck on our side of the coin and not the other person's.
Yeah. I think that tends to happen. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead because it's piggybacking. You just go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. I was just going to say, I think the reason why that happened because it goes back to respect, right? You have to respect the other person's perception of how they view things. For you to say, hey, I disagree to agree. We could disagree to agree. I understand where you're coming from. I understand that I might not know in full detail what you're experiencing and why you're experiencing this way, but I'm empathizing with you that you are going through that. So we never get to the point of that respect level of other people's perception or how they perceive things or how they take in information, right? We tend to believe that how we see things and whatever solution that we have is the right solution. And that's where all the respect, praise, and a pat on the back, good job supposed to go to. So then now you're undermining somebody else that you're asking to come to the table for a solution. And nobody wants to feel like they're undermined or not appreciated. Even if their logic to it is not accepted, you still don't want to feel like you're undermined because now you don't even want to deal with the solution in totality.
That's true. I mean, I guess it's kind of piggybacking off what she was saying. I think that, I was looking at Isaiah who's here every Friday. Yay, Isaiah. But one of the things Isaiah says is, I think women don't want to find a solution. I think it was, I can't remember, go back to it, or something in that nation. I hear it all the time. Women don't listen. But I think the problem is we're so busy focusing on the other person when we need to be focusing on ourselves, right? It's always, okay, women. I think that where the problem comes in, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that women will listen if you two got your shit together. Like, you can't sit here and say, I want her to be the perfect woman, but then you are not perfect yourself. So when we start working on themselves, and this is so when women start working on themselves and doing right, you can bring in a better mate, because then you're going to make that other person do right. And I said to the men, when you work on yourself and you do right, you can request a better mate, because you have worked on yourself. Those men who have worked on themselves have pickings. That's why they have 3, 4, 5. They trying to get poly. It's a man who has worked on himself and has got it together is not in these spaces. He is not the person who's argued about having women, because he has way too many to choose from. His problem is, which one am I going to choose? Okay, and they are doing everything that a man desires from a woman for this man. And so I say all that to say, not to bring anybody down. What I'm saying is, if you change your results, if you change who you are and you become that guy, you're going to have those women. Those women will fall in place. They really will. And that's assuming that you're not going after the toxic shit, because she's just toxic. If you are a solid guy doing what you're supposed to do, on top of your business. I've never met a solid guy who at some point didn't have, now he may be married now, but who at some point didn't have a choice in love. And they were good choices. So I'm just, and I would say that to the married men, y'all probably broke somebody's heart, and y'all like, dang, she was a good woman, but this one, she just had what I needed.
The men in the space will definitely say the same thing about the women in this space. The reason why the women are here is because they're having problems, they're having issues, and they don't have any choices. They don't have that many choices either. So it's a slicky road, but I definitely understand. I just think that on both sides, people just have to continue to do the work until you see the results that you want.
Absolutely.
Can I tell y'all something? I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is just between us. Nobody else is. Don't tell anybody else. There sure are a lot of married men in this space complaining about raggedy ass women, and that shit never made much sense to me.
Why is that though? What are they? Explain this, HD. AP? What do you think it is? Like,
so, honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. But it just occurred to me. I was thinking through. I'm listening to everybody, and I was thinking through some of the men in the space, because after you made a point, Shan, when you said that all those men are not in this space, and I don't agree. But the upstanding dudes.
So let me clarify. Because I want to clarify. When I say they're not in this space, I'm not talking about, because we're all panelists. We're sitting here talking. We like to talk, and we like to talk about issues, no matter what the issue is, because we just like to talk, right? What I'm saying is, they're not the ones who, like, there are people, when I say in this space, I mean the ones who are constantly bashing. Like, it's like it's part of their spirit. They just bash. Not the ones who just came for entertainment, like, hey, it's Friday night, I got nothing else to do. I'm talking about the one who keep the toxicity going. So it's important for me to clarify that. Go ahead, AP.
And what I was going to say is, I notice a difference between the ones that I would consider like upstanding dudes. I'm just going to give a couple of examples, and if any of those guys have a problem, feel free to hit my IG. But like Trill, I've never really heard him bash a woman. I've just never heard him bash a woman. Anton, who talks about how he thinks a lot of women are dope, but he will tell the truth about some of the ones he sees. But for the most part, he doesn't go hard really on women except on panels, and a panel can be a completely different animal. Ricky,
you see the face. You see the face right now, right? Okay.
No, I'm
so I don't know. I don't watch the content. So I mean, it could be that it's different on, but he did say unless he's on a panel, and we watch it when it's on the panel. So
on a panel is a whole different animal. But like if you go to just using, and I'm not trying to promote him or anything, but you listen to his Millionaire Morning Show, it's a very, very different guy. And the one I met is the Millionaire Morning Show one, and I respect him quite a bit.
Do you think? Let me just ask you a quick question. Do you think if a person present two different ways in two different spaces, that they're a genuine person? Because typically, if you're genuine, it's going to be a consistency across the board. So if a person is presenting in two different ways, how do you know which one is the true person? And the reason I ask that is because, if we're talking about married men and prioritizing marriage, I would think it would behoove, if you're trying to say family is important, wife is important, things like that, that you would carry yourself and represent yourself in a certain way versus
but at the same time, most upstanding men, if they see a person moving wrong, they're going to call it out. I don't see HD sitting idly by and just letting some random person, whether it be man or woman, on any panel talking recklessly, sit back and accept it. It's gonna, hey, let's call it out. Let's have the conversation. And I've even seen
AP on this panel versus sitting on a different panel, or HD, or even me. Sometimes I'm on the Thursday show. I've been on Humble Dad's show. I've been on Trill's show. I'm on here every Friday. I don't think I'm different on each panel that I go to. I'm consistent in my thought pattern. I'm consistent in the way that I interact with the people on the panel. I'm consistent in the way that I ask questions. So I think that's where the question for me lies, is that if you say Anton is one way on one show, but then he gets on another show and he's completely different. My question is, what message is he sending? What message does he prioritize in his life? Is it a message of being on a show and, my big thing is I need to call people out? You know what I'm saying? Is that his disposition naturally, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Like that. So, and again, I wasn't trying to deep dive into Anton. I was using him as an example, but he's going to call out reckless behavior, whether it's on this panel, another panel, any panel. He's going to call out reckless behavior. But at the same time, when, especially on his earlier two shows where it was just him, most of the time his messaging was to guys and about guys moving right and moving with purpose and moving with intent. And most of the guys that would listen to it and apply it to their own lives would grow from it and see the change. And again, Trill promoted guys being leaders, and he would give guys more smoke than he would really give women. Humble Dad, another one. Hey, I'm gonna give guys the smoke, give you the information on how you need to move as a man. That's going to change the result. But then you see some of these other panels where I'm not going to name any of these people, but you still got a group of married men talking crap, just blowing up on women. And in my mind, I'm like, is that how your wife behaves? If not, is that how your daughter behaves? If not,
then why are you giving all of this smoke and talking all of this crap about women? One of the things that I personally took away from especially Trill and Anton was about the way you communicate with people, and I've seen a huge difference. And I'm gonna use an example that you stated earlier, mistaken, when you said when you're about your business, you have this look on your face. Well, if I come across you and you have that look on your face, I don't say things like, "Hey, girl, you need to smile." I don't do that. I say, "Hey, sis, how's your day?" And you know what? I typically get positive reactions. I'm not trying to hit on you. I'm not trying to come for you. I just change the way I speak and acknowledge you. Thus, when I hear some of these reactions that a lot of men get when I'm listening to this space, I'm like, you might want to listen to these other men that are giving you some game, and you can actually change your own result, and you can change your interactions with women. And the the truth is, that's actually by becoming more masculine. By becoming more masculine, you begin to understand more about the female nature. And if you, as a man, because I believe men to be the lead, the head, and that's in all things. And if you're going to say that in all things, that means you have to change the way you approach and talk to women if you want a different response. So now that I've transitioned to a, "Hey sis, how's your day? Sis, are you good?" I don't typically say queen, I say sis. Like I don't use the N word in my daily speech. If I'm talking to a dude, I say, "How's it going, brother?" The response that you get is vastly different than, "What's up, nigga? How you doing?" It's vastly different. It's vastly different than, "Hey girl, won't you smile looking all mad?" No, sis, how's your day? Brother, how you doing? All right, you have a great day. Do it with a smile. You'd be surprised at the outcomes that you get. And that was the point I was trying to get to. Um, the married men in the space, I don't understand where they come from too often, and I'm talking about the ones that are constantly, "Oh, you women need to do this. You women need to do that." Well, shit, do you want her to lead you too, or how about you put out your hand, touch your hand softly? "Hey sis, come with me. I got you." You'd be surprised the outcomes you get if you try different things. And I've actually learned a lot from this space. There's a lot to learn from this space, but you can't take that negative. You can't take all of that negative and take it with you. Bring it with you. Let it consume you, because you'll learn that your interactions will become the same as theirs. And I've always wanted to self improve, and the more I improve myself, the better outcomes I get. Like I was telling you guys earlier, I was a little late, but she woke me up. Like, "Hey, don't you have a show?" I didn't mean to wake you up, but if you're going to be on the show, I got you. Those are the kind of outcomes that, in my opinion, most men want. And I'm gonna end with this. Just bear with me for a second. I'm gonna end with this. Last night I was watching Malcolm X, which I think is a great movie. There's a scene in that movie when Malcolm X goes to the police station, and he has all the brothers outside, and he tells the police officer, "I recommend you look out of your window." And all the brothers are standing there, and it's like, "All right, okay, let's get this man to the hospital." So they take the man to the hospital. He marches the guys to the hospital, and they stand outside, and he waits on the doctor to give him the update. And that's when he and the other brothers walk off. And the police officer said, "That's too much power for one man." That's the state we need to get back to as men. If we're moving like that, that leaves the women optionless. If we are leading that way, that is the brother that they can get behind. I know we talk about pushback. The women, they always trying to pull us back. If you did it anyway, can they pull you back? Can they? Because I think if we got to a state like that, we could get a whole bunch of things done and accomplished, and the women will be right behind us. And when I say behind, I use that word on purpose because we lead. And if you don't think that, and if you think that they're pushing back, change the way you interact with them and watch the way they change for you. And I'll land the plane there. I'm sorry I got long winded right there. Oh, and by the way, nice to meet you, Miss MJ.
Thank you, Lapeef. Nice to meet you.
Shane, you about to go?
No, you can go ahead, HD.
AP, my only pushback to what it is that you were saying is that people always make this argument that why are you talking about a problem when you yourself aren't experiencing the same problem? To me, it doesn't make sense that if you see a very clear problem and people are saying they want this, right? And you see the problem and you speak about said problem, you don't have this problem, but these people have this problem. It's not bashing to be like, hey, listen, these women are effing up in the game. Just like it's not bashing to say these dudes is effing up in the game. It's just an observation. And to me personally, it's just like, I don't care what a person's personal life is if they're speaking facts. If an alcoholic tells me, hey, it's probably not good for you to drink alcohol, even though he drinks alcohol, I think it's wise to listen to a person who can actually give a decent observation that actually has some facts. And if you're seeing the married men, right? There's some married men that want to hold women more accountable because they feel like they're not getting accountable enough, right? Getting held accountable enough. There's also some married men that just want to focus on just the men and be like, oh no, we just take care of the men, the women will take care of themselves. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Some people's approach is going to be direct and be like, yo, y'all effing up, fix it. Some people's audiences ain't to be dealing with, the same sex. They might be dealing with the opposite sex, and then vice versa. And I think that, I don't mean personally, a lot of times when people say that men or women are bashing the other side, they're actually not bashing the other side. Some people are just literally airing their grievances or giving an observation, and people are taking it as bashing. Just like when people have conversations in their relationships, they'd be like, oh, like, why don't you what's a good example? Like sometimes when people talk in their relationships, they think that they're being disrespectful. In all actuality, this person just has a different perspective, but until they meet your perspective, they don't understand the issues that they find in their own perspective. So I think that, yeah, in the chat, they feel attacked. I'm not attacking you in this conversation when I'm trying to air out my grievances with you, right? But because what I said made you feel some type of way, oh, you're bashing me, you're talking down to me. When I'm not doing that, I'm telling you that I'm having a legit issue and there's a problem. I'm trying to get to that solution. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Too many times we can't just call a spade and be like, yo, this is effed up. We need to fix this. Now in this space, we just want to, or just in the world in general, everybody wants to be so focused on how they feel about stuff. And it's like sometimes I think we spend so much time on how we feel about stuff that we miss the very solution that's right in front of us. And then we wonder why we had the issues that we have.
Most of the time though, HD, the issue that's right in front of us is a mirror. And until we're able to confront that person in the mirror and change what it is about that person in the mirror, how can I, as an individual, try to tell somebody else how they need to behave in order to move right when I myself am not moving right. So it's okay to call a spade, even though it could be hypocritical, or maybe your perspective is off because that person looking back at you in the mirror is off. But
Or
oftentimes we refuse to look at that person in the mirror, take the corrective action within ourselves first before we can, let's say, call that spade a spade. But here's what happens once you change that person in the mirror. The unique thing is your perspective changes. And when your perspective changes, you will then begin to see a whole bunch of things a different way. But you have to address that person in the mirror before I can address the person across the street.
But see, this is a thing though, too, AP. I agree with you about the person in the mirror, but sometimes the mirror is the relationship. And I mean relationship, either whether it's a romantic relationship with your friends, relationship with your parents. Sometimes the mirror is the relationship. And I think a lot of times we can't appreciate that. So if your woman is, and I'm gonna use myself an example. Sometimes it has been situations in which my husband was reflecting things that I was sending out. He was my mirror, right? I couldn't really take what he was telling me because it was coming from him. Now, although he told me and it was legitimate, it was because of who it was coming from that sometimes I had an issue with, because I'm like, is he saying this because he's upset at me about something? For me, in my mind, it was like some other underlying issue, or even touching on some of what HD said. How you gonna tell me when you do X, Y, and Z, right? The immaturity in my ability to look at the reflection that he was showing me. But then it would take somebody else, a different relationship, a different mirror, to call me on the same thing that he said. But I was a little more receptive to, like, okay, I done heard it from him, and I had a bias against the way he was saying it, what he was saying, the tone he was saying it, or whatever. But then somebody else said the same thing, and what they said aligned with what he said. It took me to be accountable and do some kind of self reflection about, what he said was right. And then maybe, not maybe, but then go apologize, and then be intentional about being conscientious of working on whatever it was that he said. But I think a lot of times our relationships are the mirror, but yet we don't want to believe the reflection. And I think that's what we need to do.
But that goes all the way back to working on yourself. So you had an issue with the messenger. And instead of going straight to the mirror and looking at what was said in the most objective way that you can, which I understand is very difficult, you decided that it was the messenger that was the problem. And if I may give kudos I'm going to say Anton, because he made a statement once and it just resonated with me. And I'm going to say that message is the reason why I think that I'm going to have a super successful marriage going forward, was and this is with all things in life, the message was to intentionally move with intent, intentionally, in purpose, on purpose. Once I started really focusing in on that, then everything changed for me personally. And it helped me start to look at myself more objectively in the mirror. Like, does this, and this is every relationship in life, does this relationship serve a purpose? And if not, why am I having this relationship with said person? Am I serving this person's purpose? Am I able to identify their purpose? And if not, why am I having that relationship with the person? So I say it always will start with the person in the mirror, regardless of the messenger. If you can, and this is to everybody, if you can look at yourself objectively in the mirror and say, you know what, my poop don't stink, then yeah, you have the right to go out and call a spade, be hardcore truth, and more power to you. But until you can say that, and I don't believe any human can really ever say that, it's not your place. Your place is to find the relationships that help serve your purpose and that you can help them in their purpose. Because if you're not useful, you're useless. And I just think that I really think that starts with the individual, which is why I put so much emphasis on men. Because I believe if we as men started moving like that, the women will try to find a way to get into that space and will change to get in that space. But as long as we sit here and we bitch and we moan and we gripe and complain and we keep calling spades and nothing ever changes except for a constant circle of arguments about the same stuff. It's literally arguments about the same stuff. Nigga, who you talking to? You don't know my life. And we personalize all of this content instead of working on ourselves. Then what's the point? What's the point of all of this information and all of these people's experiences if you're not going to use that information and these experiences to help better you as an individual? What are you doing in the space unless you want real housewives of real house couples of YouTube? Then what are you really doing? If you're here just solely for the drama, I guess enjoy the show. But my intent has always been to improve our community as a whole. And in order to improve the community, it has to start with men calling a spade a spade. And if we're going to call a spade, hey, black young man, pick up your gosh damn pants. Hey, black young man, if you can't get into college, get into trade. If you can't get into trade, maybe you could be the greatest bus driver ever. Maybe you could be the greatest truck driver ever. Start moving in that direction. And when you start moving in that direction, I swear, I promise on everything, your perspective will change. The people around you will change. The woman that you want, the woman that wants you, it'll all fall into place. But as long as you keep bitching, and pardon my language, but as long as you keep complaining and about the circumstance, you never grow. And I'll never understand why we get stuck in this complacent place of, well, I guess that's just my life. Your life is what you make it. Everything everything that's happened where you are is a sum of all of the choices and the perspective that you carry. And until you change that, nothing else will change. Nothing else will change. Women will continue to do OnlyFans. You'll continue to pay for it. They'll continue to do the N-word, you ain't shit. And the reason it hurts so much, the reason it stings so much, the reason it bites so much, because part of it's true. Part of you ain't shit. Fix that part. Once you do, I can guarantee you everything else falls into place. And we can use Malcolm's life as an example if you think I'm lying.
AP, I
Yes, sir.
largely agree with your point. Listen, you can get a lot more success in life when you start picking up the pieces of your own life and putting things in order. I agree with that. Here's a counter thing that I have to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
These conversations that you're complaining about, that the women are just getting screamed at by men and all this other stuff, right? Some of these interactions, they may be damaging at the offset, right? And they may take a toll at the beginning. But there are so many women and so many men that once they begin to experience the thing that these people were telling them was an issue, and it sets into their mind, dang, he was right or she was right. Now, granted, is the damage done? Yes. But there's so many times that these interactions that initially the way that men communicate to women and vice versa can be very painful. It can be what people consider toxic, right? But there's ever so often sometimes that those seeds that get planted in those people, and they be like, you know what? I hated that guy for saying that. I thought he was talking a bunch of crap to me. Then you go out and experience the same thing he told you that was a problem. And now you're like, oh, god dang, he was right. And I think that sometimes people don't even realize that these interactions, whether positive or negative, plant a seed. Some of the seeds is negative. I get it. Some of the seeds are actually positive, but because of who you are at that time when you're receiving the message, you don't take it as positive. And also, with men and women not understanding the fundamental way that we deliver information, it causes a lot of the issues. If you say something to a woman, right, and you said it kindly, you said it with, intent, purpose, tactful, you did all of the things, right? But at that moment, when she receives that information, she's not ready. She's got issues and stuff like that. It don't matter how you said that information. She's going to take that information, flip it, and think that you don't know what you're talking about. You're attacking her. You don't like women. And that's one of the biggest things that I see a lot of times from a lot of women is that, oh, it just seems like you don't like women. No, what you don't like or what you're seeing is that men are actually articulating their issues with women, and you're not used to hearing that. And you think that men don't like women. When men love women, we still put up with y'all stupid stuff, even though we know it's hurting us. But the thing is that so many times the reason why a lot of people get up in arms about men saying anything about black women or women in general is because what you're saying, AP. Men should not say anything. You should just do what you're supposed to do, take care of yourself, and then eventually work itself out. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people that took care of themselves, and the whole place burned while you got straight, but the rest of the community got jacked up. So, in my opinion, listen, I agree. You should be a person of integrity, character. You should be wanting to grow, progress, and do all of that stuff. But that does not mean that you can't plant the seed and have conflicts and friction to actually potentially create in a situation where we can actually get someplace, in my opinion.
So you made, and I'm gonna keep it short because I've monopolized quite a bit of time. But uh, you said we love women. First, let me back up. You made the same point that Miss Taken made, and I don't fully disagree with it. But you said that we love women and we put up with their stuff, or so much so that we put up with their stuff. This is where I differ. Why are you putting up with their shit?
Because
Why
people
would
are
you?
effed up. That's why. Men
Right.
and
That goes
women
back to
are
the
jacked
mirror, though,
up.
doesn't it?
Yeah, but even if you fix the mirror, that doesn't mean, like, even when you fixing yourself, you only fixing the stuff that sticks out to you. If you don't have a fundamental issue with yourself, right, and you look at yourself in the mirror because you don't have a proper perspective on how to examine yourself, you fixing yourself in the mirror ain't really doing much of anything. All I'm saying,
I disagree with that.
all I'm saying is, AP, is this: everybody has their issues. Even the good woman, even the good man still has their issues. We only want to focus on the positive things about these people, but not realizing that inside every person that you like, they got some nasty stuff that they dealing with. They don't tell you, or you might not experience it the way that is really going on. But listen, you got to understand, people are people. Everybody got issues. There's stuff that you done fixed a lot, and as you continue to fix yourself, you find out there's still more, and it just keeps going and going and going. So at what point do you realize that, like, you a person going through stuff, like I'm a person going through stuff? So even when I get better, that doesn't mean that I can't sit up here and say, like, even though I'm doing better, that doesn't make me better than you. And I think a lot of the stuff that we have is, there's no grace because there's no respect, and there's no understanding that, even the person that you love the most, it be the people that you love the most that will tear your heart apart with just words. So it's just like, to sit up here and act like just because you got yourself together, or you getting yourself together, that doesn't mean that you're not struggling with stuff. Like, bro, people do not operate the same. You're going to be a person that, it sounds like you're a person that leads by example, right?
I
That's
try
one
to.
approach, right? There's other leaders that's like, you are effing up. I'm getting in your face. And the reason why I'm getting on your face, because I did the way that I operate, you need a dramatic shift. And it's not going to happen with me being cool with you. And that's some people's approach. I think that, you know what, I'm just
Can let MJ jump in?
Let me. I understand what you're talking about, HD, and I definitely understand AP point. The job that I have, those two things tend to happen, right? We have leaders who come to the pro where they lead by example. That is actually what they teach us in the armed forces. Then we have other people who are leaders who take to, I'm gonna tab you, drop down and give me 5 if you don't follow a directive or order as soon as I tell you to do it, right? We have to think about the end result of both leaders, right? Both different leader strategies. One is going to be respected and one is not going to be respected. The sense of fear that you're talking about is, if I'm fearful that the next time this person is going to come and scream in my face or have me drop down and do 10 pushes, I'm not fearful that I'm making a wrong decision that is not going to not benefit me in my life going forward. I'm fearful because I'm dealing with the initial pain that I don't want to do push-ups after getting up from doing push-ups. Whereas with AP situation is, now by him explaining to me why this is going to be a benefit for me later on, because I can actually see that it's a benefit from him by proven results, I'm going to not only have respect and admiration for it, I'm going to try to achieve, because I want to show him as well that not only I respect the results that he got, that I also want to show, I want him to be proud that I was able to do it too. You know what I'm saying? So there's a different type of level of respect that you're going to get. You're going to have people that's going to respect being fearful of what the consequences are. And then you're going to have people who's going to respect what the results is going to be later on. And I think that we tend to we tend to join those two things together, thinking that automatically you're going to get that type of I guess scenario or result, and it doesn't happen. Because, for example, like you said, you're talking about telling women things about themselves. I get it, right? We all know that not all women are perfect. When we make mistakes, men versa. The way how you go by doing it have it actually gain any more results, or have women have rebelled more? Let's just really think about it, right? And we can tell that women are rebelling more. You're not getting the results that you want. Now, for example, with AP, if there was a certain level of respect where they could see that the results is they have a marriage like AP. His woman is smiling all the time. She respects him and revere him, and he respects and revere her. Women are striving to go to that. They want that, right? So now they can admire him, they can admire his marriage, and they can admire his woman too, right? Because she's also going to emulate what they want to be, right? So it's a level. You have to decide what type of respect that you want. You can get one out of fear, or you can get one out of where someone would just initially just do whatever they have to do just to get you out their face, just so they don't have this fear of whatever threat that you're presenting to them. Or do you want someone to respect you and get the results that you want that's going to last for a long period of time? You just have to decide.
I'm fine with that, because, respect, how you want to be respected is just that, whether it's by fear or whether it's by the general approach. In my opinion, a lot of the general approaches actually sometimes make women dig in deeper, but they don't lash out. They keep the same behavior, and what you're saying actually makes them feel good, so they don't actually change their behavior. They'd be like, oh, this sounds nice, and then they continue doing the same thing. Now, the response of what you're saying, the fear tactic, right? That's going to make them lash out at you, right? And that's going to make them become more combative and more upset, right? But sometimes what happens is after they get over their attitude and they run into something that actually coincides, because let's use your example as the military, right? That dude that rules by fear and that you see that fear, he might not have time to explain why he's doing what he's doing. And maybe down the line, you might have some you might think about it and be like, oh, I get it now. I was just doing what he told me to do because I didn't want him to continue to punish me. But I think that it's a luxury to have all this time to be like, be tactful and stuff like that and care about this and care about that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but I think we have a thought process that we have a lot more time than what we do. And sometimes certain situations require immediate direct action. In some situations, you might have the time to do what you're saying. Be more tactful, be more caring, be more graceful with your speech. But in my experience with a lot of women, when you give them this graceful, tactful approach, it makes them say, oh, that was really nice. I didn't think about it like that. But they continue to stay and do the exact same behavior. And they do not change anything. They just heard what was said and was like, oh, that was nice. And just go on about their day and do the exact same thing.
I think that depends on the woman, right? Because what I see in these spaces is that you have a lot of men who wants to change women with what their character is and how they are. You want them to change or convert into something that is your program and your standards. That's where you go wrong at, right? Because you're supposed to be aligning with the person who does it naturally. So instead of you trying to change the woman who is never going to change her stripes or spots, right?
And we have a video for that, MJ, in a second, but I'm gonna let you go. That's exactly keep just understand.
No problem. Yeah, but so instead of just letting go said woman who is not going to change her stripes or not going to change her spots, you would do everything in your power, exert all your energy and resources to try to convince this woman or trap this woman or condemn this woman into this position. And you know what happens? She's going to rebel. When in your situation, which you're talking about, the guy who had to do 25 or 30 push-ups because he was given a direct order because he was making a mistake. You know what you have to worry about that said soldier or individual? You have to worry about a friendly fire when you go on deployment, right? You have to worry about certain situations like that where you're not going to be able to trust that individual at all, right? because you was more focused on, I'm instilling that fear. As long as they fear that I can drop them down, as long as they fear that I can discipline them in any formal fashion, those are the type of person you have to worry about. The ones who usually have the best squads or the best leaders is the ones who are able to garnish people who wants to follow willingly, not by that type of force.
And the last, just real quick. So, and I want to make sure that I'm understood real quick. First of all, most of the time I talk to the men. I don't talk to the women unless they solicit advice. So I'm not going to just blindly give a female the calling a spade a spade. I'm not going to blindly give her that information until she is ready to receive it. The way I know she's ready to receive it is she will ask for it. Otherwise, I'm talking to men about men bettering men. And if we are bettering ourselves, the women will adjust. The women will make the adjustment because they will no longer be getting the attention that they crave so much, because we're moving in a more productive, a more intentional way. So when I talk about attacking women, I talk about it from the fact of, if MJ doesn't say, "Hey AP, what do you think of me? What are some of the things you think I can change?" I'm not gonna offer up where I think she's failing at. I'm gonna let her keep failing until she looks in the mirror and say, "Okay, I need to change." Because I can't correct her.
But see, this is the
I'm gonna play that video in a second too, Mistaken. So after you finish, I'm gonna play it, and it's gonna go circle back around.
It's all about environment. So what happened today at the restaurant? So we had kind of talked about, Shan called me out again. It was like, with the group we was talking about, was out like, yeah, Mistaken could be masculine. Sometimes she got masculine energy, right? And for me, I was saying one thing that I'm okay with is that I accept who I am. I'm just going to be who I am. And we were talking about regional, like what she perceives as being masculine, me being from New York, is not masculine. But what she said was, well, New Yorkers are masculine. So that's just kind of, you said that. The women in New York are masculine.
She not masculine. But she not masculine.
But you probably didn't see that side. She probably didn't see
that. They see me in uniform. I'm very masculine.
Okay.
So for me, I'm like, well, as a female in New York, I'm considered feminine. I'm not like a real,
Yeah, I've seen.
So one of the other people who we were with, is the fact that he was saying, I think I can probably see that side of you, but he's like, it's kind of weird because we've had conversations before, because what Shan brought up was like, if somebody says something, she, might be like, I'm saying, like that kind of thing or whatever. And he was like, it's weird because I've never seen you like come out of character. I've never seen you act like, and we've had conversations before that we disagreed on. And I was explaining the difference is how you disagree. It's not the disagreement itself. And I think a lot of times what happens is that men take disagreements as an automatic, like being belligerent, or automatic, like just kind of, just going to argue for argument's sake kind of thing. So when you set up an environment, and that's what I explained to him, I was like, yeah, we disagree on points all the time, but the difference between what you see is based on the energy that you give me. So if you know how to agree to disagree, I'm going to be open to still listening to your point. Even say, okay, I understand your point right there. But even if I don't disagree, there's a level of respect, still a level of openness to receive what you're saying based on the way that you deliver. But if you deliver in a manner of, when I respond, you're being condescending about what I'm saying, or
it's more
you're
of
just
an attack than it is a concern.
What I'm saying, and that you're really not trying to hear my perspective, then yes, that's where the masculine energy come from, because that's the energy you're giving me. And automatically, I think it's kind of human nature that a lot of times you respond to your environment. You know what I'm saying? And so what I was explaining is, we can have these conversations as long as your approach and the way that you converse is on the up and up. And I think when we're in these spaces, a lot of times people don't have the emotional dexterity to know how to kind of change up a little bit to make their point, but not necessarily be offensive, not necessarily be condescending, still be open to try to listen to the other person's point, and then go back and forth, and then be like, you know what, you made some good points, but at the end of the day, I still really don't agree with that, but I got you. You know what I'm saying? And everybody can walk away feeling heard and understood, respected, because I think that's the end result. If people want to walk away with their respect and their dignity intact when they have difficult conversations, and that doesn't necessarily always happen.
So before I show the video, I think that the issue is people are forgetting that YouTube is click based, right? You get paid per click. So Jerry Springer was popular because it was Jerry Springer. Okay. So people are addicted to toxicity. They don't want to hear it the nice way. They want to hear it the down and dirty way, because that's the way you're going to get the clicks for, money, monetaries, for the sake of money. Now the problem with it is those people are no different. You can argue about Sexy Red, but you're no different than Sexy Red. You're using something that is very toxic to the community to make money off of. And they think that they're very different. And they sit there and talk about the Sexy Reds and all these people, but you are in the exact same situation as the Sexy Red, because you're using a toxic way of, this toxic formula to make money. That's really what it is about. Because they can sit here and have conversation, and it may not, bring in the people that they want to bring in. But they're not willing to do that. That's not going to go viral. That's not going to bring in the numbers that they want to bring in to make their pockets a little swollen than they were. And that's really the issue that we're seeing. Mm. It really is. MJ brought up a good point, and there's a video, because I think that let's put this video let's put everything in perspective, and I think this is what MJ is saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, MJ. Okay, when the video is done, I'm gonna go back and explain how I feel it kind of goes with what you're saying. Okay,
say this one time and one time only. This guy is mad at this girl because this girl likes this guy. This is who he calls Pookie and Ray Ray. He's very jealous of this guy. He ignores this girl, this girl, this girl, and this girl, and he settles for this girl, creates a family, becomes very successful, cheats with this girl because he really wants to be this guy. This is the contradicting cycle of some, maybe a lot of these men. There's plenty of really, really good, clean black women out here, but because they focus on one type of woman who is really who they honestly like, that's why they focus on her so hard, they ignore the others.
And this is for men and women alike, right? So what has happened is there's this group of women that we call it the toxic crew. You know what I'm saying? They out here, just living their best life, as they would call it, right? And they're like the loud minority, but they what men, they know what men like, that, and men's like, I hate her, I condemn her, but you're still looking at her, you're still tapping on it. You can't, it's something about her that is just reeling you in, and you can't let her go. So you want her to be the woman that you want her to be, but she's showing you what she is. And instead of just accepting who she is, you're trying your damnedest to change her into this other woman that she's already told you she's not. And now all the women who do try to do right are put in a category of this woman, like they are the one, all the women in the world, maybe because she looks a certain kind of way, who knows what it is, right? And you're bashing all women, even the quiet ones. You'll be amazed at how many women don't even have social media. You'll be amazed at how many women are just out here in their house just chilling, right? You're bash all these women for the ones that keep coming up on your algorithm because you keep tapping on them, right? And I would say the same for women. You bashing all these men because you want this certain kind of man to act right, right? You keep falling for the same kind of guy. You want him to act right. And you're like, oh, men are da 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 da. No, it's the ones you have the desire for that are acting this way. And I think that we both, men and women, we have a problem with that. And instead of saying the men that I want, the men that I desire are not acting right, we say, oh, black men. Or the same thing when the women we desire, black men desire, don't act right. All black women. No, that's the women that you're choosing to give your time, your energy, your mindset to. They're not all. That's not all the black women in the world. That's the ones you see, the ones that you want. That ain't all of them. I just wanted to. It's just a visual.
I love that video. I love that little snippet. It was great because, yeah, that's what I was alluding to. Yeah, definitely. They do want the women. They have specific women that they want, but they want their specific women to act like the women that they want them to act like. And sometimes the attributes that you're looking in a woman is not in the Sukianas and the sexy red looking type of women of the world. They are in the women who are the book nerds, the geeks, the ones who's in anime, or the ones who's in church, or the I'm going to stay inside and that's what I do every weekend type of woman. So it's the same thing that you will say to us women, right? We want the bad boys. We want the ones who's out there. Everybody know their name. They're in the club, whatever, not blah, blah, blah. But the attributes that we're looking for is someone that is probably in spaces that we don't even go to, right? So then it's about both sides changing their mindset, right? If these attributes are important to you, then the looks part can't be dominant. We're not saying that it's not important, right? You want to be attracted to your mate, but it cannot be your dominant choosing factor of an individual. And I think that it's being taught to women more not to think that way, but men are not teaching themselves to think that way because men have this kind of, and this is only my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, men have this type of understanding that because they have so many options, they can have the options of having the boring girl that has all the attributes and utilize that until they get the woman that they want, or they can go out there and get the woman that they want, physically attractive, whatever not, but then they can replace her with someone else who can fit the attributes that woman don't have. So now you have your cake and you eat it too. And that's usually how they're setting up the situation, and they're finding it to be very unfulfilling. Because, yeah, they'll marry the girl that they're attracted to, right? That she's attracted to, she's banging body, whatever not. And then later on, 2-3 years, oh, the woman can't cook. Well, you knew the woman can't cook, sir. You know what I'm saying? Oh, the women don't want to wash dishes. Well, you knew the woman wasn't doing laundry. You knew all this about that, but you was more concerned that woman was more attractive and what you got for her lustfully wise than actually the attributes that you needed for a wife. And it's the same thing when it comes down to us women. We find a guy attractive. We find that he's mysterious, whatever not. He looks good. He could dance. He could smell good. He got great clothes. But then later on, we knew, but we wasn't thinking, but subconsciously we knew that this man he has abandonment issue. We knew that he has commitment issue. We knew that he likes to step out on the street. We knew that he likes to hang out with boys. These are things that we're not thinking about in the moment because we're so attracted to what we're at. So like on both sides, we both do it. And We just have to decide, whether or not are we going to actually make that change, or if we're not, we're going to just decide that the ones that we do want might not be who we need. Are we willing to accept that or not?
It was so great. Whoever's next, you go. I just want to say is when you had ended up leaving already, Shan, and one of the questions that was asked, which it was so crazy because all of us gave different answers. One of the guys in a group had asked if you had to give a percentage between sex, the way you're being treated, and money, what order would you put the importance, right? And give the percentage of like if it's 60% this or 30% this or whatever, right? And every girl gave a different answer at the table. And I think if I was single, after him asking that question and seeing a response, if I was going on dates, those would be the type of questions that I would actually ask, because it said a whole lot in terms of what people value. And you could switch up whatever attributes you think are important to you and ask that woman, how would you rate these? What percentages would you give these? Because if like for me being treated well is on a hierarchy, it is gonna be a higher percentage. So I was saying like 60% of being treated right, and then breaking up the other two, well, no, because then I said like I would do like maybe 60% being treated right, then the next percentage would be like 20%, of the sex, and then the money. And the guys was like, oh, you put money last? So there was an expectation about the money being last. But then another girl at the table was like, oh, no. It's got to be 70% money for me. And then, this, that, and the other. And then another one was like, well, it would have to be 33, 33, 33 for me. Right. And so I just sat back and thought about how deep that question really is, because it gives you so much feedback on the value of things. And so when you was, talking about people getting together with people that don't necessarily mesh up, that's exactly what it is, because people value different things, and we're trying to mesh with people that don't necessarily value the same things that we value, but we're trying to think that we can influence them, to change them, to put what they may find as important, to switch their mind and say, you know what, this is a little more important. And that's, one woman's just like, I was raised like, that's just something I want man to be able to pay all my bills, period. All of the other stuff I can, I can work on. Not to say I don't want him to treat me right, but he has to be financially, because he ain't gonna be able to treat me right if he ain't financially stable. Like, so she was giving her reason behind why she valued that. And I think if, as women, if you're single and you're dating, it's always going to start with you figuring out what it is that you value. So when you are going on these dates and really trying to find a partner, if you're serious about settling down, you need to ask that person that question. If I gave you these three things, what would you put in order, and what would be the percentage of each? I was like, oh, wow. And it just opened a whole different dialogue, because what the women were saying was important, the men didn't even, was just like, well, damn, where do we go from here? Because each one of y'all said something different. And I was like, that is the point. The women that you meet are going to require different things, but you can't come with the same approach for every single woman. So yeah, that was great.
Can I give some feedback real fast? Just a little quick feedback. That was a great point, Tara, but you did say it was going to take a minute, but it took about 30. So I'm just...
That's okay.
Who did you interrupt? Who was about to say something?
So so mine will be pretty quick. To the video, this is my Jerry Springer moment. In the video, there is an arrow missing. The arrow that's missing is the women that were below that guy. There's an arrow that points to the woman that he's trying to holler at, because the women that he's currently not really dealing with want to know what it is about that woman that would put them in his orbit. So the reason why men will address,
I'm trying to look where the arrow went.
Okay, me too. I'm like looking
okay, so
which arrow to which guy? Like what?
Okay. So remember, she started off with this guy wants this girl who really wants Tyrone.
Mm-hmm.
When he has all of these options, and it pointed down to all of these chicks that he doesn't want, and that's where the red X was.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is there's also an arrow that points back to the woman that he wants from the women he doesn't want.
Oh, gotcha.
Because those women will do what it takes
to get the
attention.
Like that girl.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the reason why you address this first girl, and we're talking about this space overall, the reason why you address that first girl, because you want her in that bottom category. You want her as an option. And if they all are viewed as an option and they're all moving correctly, then you don't have a bad option. There's no bad choice. You don't have anybody. All I'm gonna say is poor Pookie Ray Ray.
JR doing it. You see, she's trying to say the group. So watch the group down here. They're trying to figure out why he wants. They're trying to figure out what she's doing to get all his attention.
There's one more click. One more that goes right below him.
Yeah.
It's the group of girls.
Right. So
let me tell you what it is. Can I just mention this real fast, because I saw a whole psychology thing on this, right? People. Oh, okay. We gotta go through the whole finish line.
All right. Did you want me to play it, or you?
No. So what it is there's a dopamine hit, right? Men love the chase. They want something they can capture, but because what will happen is if old girl ended up conforming to those other, he don't even want her no more. It's something about what she's making him experience that is making him. It's like a roller coaster ride. It's that. Oh, she ain't gonna answer like she, always. It's that crazy. She's in his head because she's
one to tame her.
She's playing with his head. And so what they think they want is this woman to turn into these women. But when they find out that when she finally turns into these women, he don't want her no more. He wants somebody else who's treating. So it's not necessarily her.
Changed.
Treating him. And that's the same for women. It's not just men. It's a human thing. People want what they can't have, right? They want to tame what they can't have. It's like, oh, it's something about that person. Oh, the person he don't give me that much. Have you ever seen those TikToks of kids like, he called me every single day? That's a turn off. They being honest. Like it's toxic. And you're looking like, what? That's the craziest I've ever heard. But what it is it's a constant, like a drug, an addiction. The unpredictable. It's boring to be predictable. Being unpredictable, you know what I'm saying? It's something about people put value on things they can't have. Like she must be of higher value if I can't get her. Like, I had to work to get her, or I had to work to get him. And they place value on it. In actuality, nah, he was just feeling somebody else at the time, or she was just feeling somebody else at the time, and she just wasn't giving you attention. But once she gives you the attention, you like, maybe that's what post clarity is. You was chasing it, and now you got it. It wasn't even about it was about I ain't chasing no more. I got what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Maybe all of this time, it's like it's together. I don't know.
I think JR and HD will be able to provide a bit more insight. I don't think men are as complicated as y'all are saying.
It's complicated. It's human. It's psychology. It's a human. Men like to chase. That's
But we still, so the thing is, even in the category, in the video, even in the category of women that would give that person the time of day, we still have to chase that. Like, it's not like that's going to fall in our lap either. So it's not necessarily the chase. It is, we need this person's behavior to be correct too. So it's one of these situations, and it becomes ridiculously circular because we may not even want that particular woman. We want her behavior to change. The problem with it is the women that let's say we qualify for, or that would give us the time of day, see us addressing this other woman, and they want that same attention that she's getting. So they adopt a lot of that bad behavior that she's doing. Meanwhile, we're trying to correct this woman so that she can actually fit into this other category of women. But it's too late. Soon as, let's say, that woman's corrected, the four that were below us are now in line, and we're trying to correct them. But what needs to happen is y'all stay y'all. We'll correct these women over here if that's the goal. But that never happens. I'm almost done, I promise. And that, again, like I said, it never happens. And it becomes this thing where women are transforming into or adopting more of these behaviors, and that's not what we wanted, which is why, again, it goes back to the very first point that I made. But anyway, now, Miss Taken, at that table, just real quick, and I'm gonna be done, to just address what you were saying, when y'all when y'all said when you said that everybody had a different answer. That's actually not even how women work. I think it's all 33, 33, 33.3.3.3, and then there's a 0.1 at woman's discretion. Because if you don't have the financial resources, they'll disqualify you. If you don't lay down the ding ding properly, they'll disqualify you. And if you don't treat them right, they'll disqualify you. So I think all three of those are equal part with a 0.1 of women's discretion. Now, which is why, again, it goes back to what I said a couple weeks ago with getting together younger, but that's a different conversation. That's just crazy.
I disagree with it. Wasn't 33, 33, 33. The reason is because treating me right or treating a person right would take priority, because the other two can always be coached up. So y'all
got to get that out y'all head too. Y'all can't coach a man up.
Yeah.
You can't. When it comes to sex, if I know what it is that I like, it's my responsibility, if you're not doing the things that I like, to inform you of that and let you know so you can adjust and make that right. So I definitely think women coach men up when they are aware of the things that they like, and especially when it comes to sex. That's the only time you guys are very compliant. Y'all, because y'all is an ego thing, and y'all want to be the best at it. That's something that is going to motivate you, right? I'll say for the most part. So in that regard, that can be coached up. And the finances, opportunity is presented depending on your personality, because sometimes for some men, they don't know, and a woman get in their life and show them. And if you're the type of dude that knows how to take, receive support, receive encouragement to level up, and you do that. So I think that's kind of the role of a woman, is to try to assist you, to get you and support you to get to the next level. So, but the knowing how to treat somebody right, that's something that's innate. That's just something, either you're a good person or you're not. I can't really coach you to be a good person if that's not your nature. The other two are adjustable. So that's why it wouldn't have been 33, 33, 33.
So you can't teach somebody how you want to be treated? Is that what you're telling me? You can't coach somebody on how to treat you the way you want to be treated?
You can show them, but they're gonna have to want to accept to do it or not, and I think that's the issue, right? Because you
And
can,
it goes the same with both of the other two, right? According to what I'm hearing, it would be the same for the other two in that scenario.
The
If
other
you
two
can
are a
show them,
benefit to you. The first one is a benefit to me.
all three of them are a benefit to you.
No, what I'm saying in terms of your energy and wanting to change that, you're gonna want to level up in terms of financially. If you're
Are you,
making $30,000 and I'm showing you there's a way that you can make 80, you may be very motivated to make that 80. If I'm saying, and I ain't gonna say it like you're whack, in the bed, but you're going to be open to wanting to improve, especially if it's something that you enjoy doing, right? So you're motivated in those other two areas. Treating me right doesn't necessarily make you motivated to do that. It's like, what are you getting in return? The other two, you're getting something in return. The first one is really about you serving others and not yourself. So that's the difference.
I would change the topics. I would say, what was the three you gave mistaken?
sex, money, and
Way the
treating you
person
right?
treats you, sex, and then the finances, money.
I would say attraction. Meaning attraction doesn't mean he's nice looking. It just means that you're attracted. Something about him attracts you, right? I would replace that with sex because that kind of leads to you wanting to even work with him.
My point one never fails.
Yeah, I
I
agree
don't
with
like,
AP.
oh, he laid it down. I'm in love. Like I don't think that that's the truth.
Yeah, I think with AP, I agree with AP on this. All the things that you mentioned, all three of them, they're for you. You know, you can get a benefit. If I treat you right, you might treat me right. Or you might give me some of the things that I want. If I treat you nicely, you might give me some action. If I treat you right, I might can be a house husband for 2025 and you pay all the bills. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things work together. And I also agree with AP on this. If you're missing these things, one of these three things, you can't even play the game. If you broke, because the only reason why you probably put money down low is because you got money now and your man got money now, right? If y'all were both broke, it wouldn't be a problem. But if you got money and he ain't got money, right? He can't play the game. That's why oftentimes when we have these conversations, what people say and what they do, it be two different things. You got this list like this, right? Then you meet this guy that does not meet the list, but you like him enough to be like, I can coach him up. Even though he does not follow the order of the list, I can coach him up because guess what? I like him enough, right? So all this stuff just be talk sometimes. And that's why I be saying it's like, yo, it sounds good on paper and it makes you feel really good. And y'all can go home and say, man, I'm cooking, which, right, y'all cooking. But also, what people say in person or say out in the space versus what they do in their personal life, listen, them things be far from the truth.
So can I ask you a question, HD? So
Yeah,
do you think that people having certain particular lists and standards of said requirement of mates, do you think that that should be washed out? Because as we see, a lot of people, depending on the ratio of what they get from said individual and how they feel about them, they will compromise or they will be commendable to said relationship if they're not getting exactly what they want. Do you think they should just throw out the list completely, or is the issue is that they just need to really just stand on the list 10 toes down and not compromise, right? Because from what I hear sometimes with a lot of men say that when it comes down to women, even the one that they settle for or the one who's not the top model, the next top model, whatever not, there were so many things about this said woman that they might not like, but however, they was willing to accept those things that they don't like about that woman because they enjoy or they appreciate the things that they do get for the woman, right? So now I'm trying to say is the issue is the list too strict or is the list too open? Because I see both have experienced I say criticism for deciding which side or which route they're going to go. Like, for example, like if the woman wants a man who makes 100,000, that's usually like the number that keeps on getting thrown out here. If he makes, I want a high value man, he makes $100,000, but then he also has to be fine too, and then he also has to treat me good and not be looking for any options and stuff like that. Like that type of list. Should the list be scratched, or should women hone on more to their list?
Well, I don't know how to make this a short response, but I would say similar to the thing that Miss Taken was talking about, how in your mind, what you value, you put the percentage out, right? The way that I look at it is that the list matters to some degree, but if you don't really have a list that actually is a good indicator of the things that you want, or you don't know why you want these things, you can make all the lists you want. It could be tight, it could be open, it could be in the middle. The reality is you really have to learn enough about you and learn enough about what it is that you want and why you want it in order for a list to be effective, right? Because you can go to a grocery store and buy everything in the store, but you don't eat all that stuff. You don't need all that stuff either, and all that stuff in there isn't good for you. So, I have listened to a number of women's lists, and the things that they put on the list, I'm like, okay, you can ask for that, but if this doesn't exist, what are you going to do then? And I think that a lot of women or just people in general don't just pay attention to the people that's in front of them and really look at this person's character. Really look at how this person operates and really get to the value of this person to determine if this is something that you want to deal with. Because you had mentioned about a lot of guys dealing with these women that have all these issues. Well, for a lot of men, they'd be like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get better. So you make a decision hoping for the best. And then you say, hey, listen, I can suffer through the rest of this as long as I have this. But when you listen to women, they're like, I'd rather hold out even if I never get better. So brothers tend to take things more practical. We're like, yo, listen, I don't need a lot. I would like all of these things, but I think that I will be able to survive and live day to day if I have these things. Versus when you listen to a lot of women talk, they're like, well, shoot, I need this, I need this, I need this, and I need this. But when you actually go through life, you realize you might not need what it is that you really say that you think that you need. But you only know that when you start getting into the relationship or when you meet a guy that you really like. I need him to make this. I need him to make this. I need him to make this and this. But you meet a guy that you really like, and all of a sudden, that list that you held in high regard, it starts shifting a little bit. You was like, I need a man that's at least 6'2", right? You meet a man that's 5'10", and he's saying the things that you like. Now said men all of a sudden became 6'2", even though he's 5'10". Same thing with the money. You're like, yo, he ain't got a lot of money, but he's smart with his money. He spends his money on me when he has to. And it's just like, I think it's not the issue that you're creating the list. I think it's the person creating the list that's the problem, especially if you don't know the things to actually look for, if that makes any sense.
I think those lists are just, hey, if you want something, it's kind of like a wish list, right? I think that when people meet people that they like, they're not like this going by no list at the end of this. Because if they did, we wouldn't be in relationships. Half the people would be in relationships.
Well, maybe because what you're putting on the list isn't the right thing.
Well, yeah,
that's what it is. If you, it all starts with, like what HD said. It all starts with you knowing you. When you know who you are, and when you know what you need, the partner that you get is going to reflect the areas in which you need. So a lot of times we're putting things that are like super. I ain't gonna say being attracted to the guy isn't necessary, or being attracted to the girl isn't necessary. That is definitely something that's going to help keep a relationship together. You want to at least be attracted to the person. But when I'm saying attracted, there's multiple ways you can be attracted to people. And if you're just like, you know, when you say I want physical attraction, and your physical attraction, oh, he got to be 6'2", he got to have green eyes, he got to have curly hair, and all of these things are on your list. You know what I'm saying? You're already knocking out majority of the men that you're going to even come across, just in those first four things that you have on your list. So what I'm saying is, when you're looking at things that are substantial to build a strong foundation of a relationship, those are the things that need to go on your list first. So one of the guys had said, which it just spoke, loudly, was the fact that if you get 60 to 70% of the things on your list, he's like, even 75, you're doing great, because that's a strong foundation in which you can build something on. And then a 25% is other stuff that you can potentially work on, or other things that you just have to accept it as this is this aspect of a person, because it's just going to be some things about a person that you just can't change. That's their personality. So you can't change personality per se. It's like, if you have a solid 70-75% of the things that's on your list, you're good. And in hindsight, when I looked at that, I was like, you know what, it's true, because that's kind of similar to that 80-20 rule. But he, says 70-30 or whatever. But I think the problem is that what we do as women, we don't want to settle for the 70, even though 70 is passing. You know what I'm saying? We want the 100. We want the A plus, and the likelihood of you being able to find a guy with every single thing on your list is slim to none. But if by the chance you end up finding that, it's going to be something else on the list you forgot that you're going to want to add on after you get with him, because now you realize, I don't really like that. And so something else ends up being added to your list. So if you get that 70-75% to start with, I think you're good money moving forward.
So what I was trying to say was, most people have a list, but nobody's really going. The list is just a list. Nobody is mating with these people on this list, right? Most people, if they find somebody that they mesh with, you like, most relationships happen out of, oh, I met somebody and it just clicked. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden that list just gets thrown out the window.
You by your list. You're going by your lust.
No. So what I'm saying is, that's not how I think that we sit here and we like, oh, there's a list. I want a 6'6". I want a da. In reality, that's not what's showing in reality. That's not who you're even with. Most of the women who you sitting here saying you want somebody who's 6'3", but the dude you effing with and you in love with ain't 6'3". You understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, it sounds good. It's kind of like saying, if I told my kid, give me your Christmas list, they're gonna put everything on there. They don't mean you finna get that. It just means I'm just dreaming right now. It's la la land. You feel me? So if you ask me, I'm gonna give you something extraordinary. You feel me? But when it comes to reality, you're looking for more practical things, like, hey, he was nice to me. He was da, and you end up falling for things that are not even, close
so
to
using that analogy that you said, when you tell the kids to write the Christmas list, they're gonna write everything because that's their wish list. Now I know their dream list, right? But I remember, like, as a parent, I'm like, okay, put a star next to your top 3 items that you really, really want the most, right? So they would identify.
But even that mistaken. When we
that's
walk
what I'm
out,
trying to tell you.
so what I'm saying to you is, when we walk outside, bump what people are saying. You got to stop listening to people, because there's a lot of stuff being said on this internet. But when you walk in front of me and I see your mate, you don't meet none of that criteria. So you didn't go for that with your mate. These people are with people that are not what their list say they want, right? They've fallen for people who is not what their list is suggesting that they want. People do that every single day. Because guess what? Average people out here making average people. And even in her head, she believes he above average. Trust me, it's people in the clique who's like, nah, nigga, just average. Like, it's all subjective to the person. You understand? And I can look at her list and be like, oh my God, this looks extravagant. And then you see her mate, and you're like, that's what you got? That's what you was in your head looking at when you made that list? It don't be adding up. So what I'm saying is, the list, when people get on the internet, oh, he gotta be 6'3". He gotta be a ball player, but you're not messing with that. Like, that sounds good, but it's not what's reality. It's not what's going on from the day to day. Does that make sense?
Shan said he a 5'9" restaurant host.
But see, that was the thing. That's what I was saying. I think what she misinterpreted was that I was saying that what they have on a list. You're saying whatever they write on the list isn't what they add, what they end up with. That list goes out the window. What I was saying, no, what I was saying was, the problem is, one, what they include on the list isn't necessarily what they need on the list. And so when you just operate in the attraction part, you forget the foundation aspects of what makes the list important. Like how I was saying about, you put the star next to the top 3 things that you want for Christmas. That means you're looking through that list. Yeah, I have my dream list, but if I can't get everything on my dream list, these are the things that I really, really want. I don't think people are going as far as identifying the things that they really, really want. And
well, sometimes people so sometimes people don't even know what they want until they find what they need. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You ever met somebody, you're like, damn, I didn't even know I needed him. Like, he was like, and then you always be like, because they filled a spot that you just didn't even know. And I think that's what happens in a lot of these spaces. When you talk to married men and they've been married and they've had wives, true wives, they can never, the guy who's never had a wife, he has no clue to what a wife can do for you. Because it's nothing that this guy can say. Well, he can't kind of say, this, my wife be doing this, you know what I'm saying? She's superwoman, right? But to a single guy, he's like, he ain't gonna never know until he experiences whatever that, you know, the experience is. So what I'm saying to you is, a lot of times what's happening is, a lot of people, if you've never experienced it, it's kind of hard to even figure out. You may think you got it all set, right? You may think you king of the world, and then that chick come in and change your life. She done organize your life. You like, damn, I didn't even know I was this organized. It's like, she just then came in and now you can't live without her. She brought value to your life. That's what they say. They like to say, you bring value to a man's life. So I think that sometimes that is a situation too. And the same thing with women. Man comes and you like, I got this. I'm Miss Independent, and this man just shows up and shows out. And you like, well, damn. There it is. So, you know, it's great to have a little list and everything, a little checklist, but some, you know, I don't be thinking them things be working for real. Now you got your base, like, you know, you gotta have a baseline. You gotta have if you ain't bare minimum, but I think you know, you can't be homeless now. Shit.
I did want to say something too, because about that list that you was talking about. Whenever you ask a child what it is that they want for Christmas, they put everything down on there. The same thing with adults; they put everything down on there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they deserve it. So they might not even qualify for it, even though they have these expectations and have the ultimate list. Sometimes those people that you are checking for may not be checking for you. So you got to kind of keep that in mind as well. And then also too, and people don't really know what they need. in life in general. People are not self-aware. So when you are saying that people need to work on being with somebody that compliments them, well, first they have to be self-aware before they can even get to that stage of understanding what they need. And a lot of times people don't find out what they need until they are in a relationship, or if they've gone through failure, breakups, and then they start to understand what it is that they really need. Because I mean, typically people have patterns and they keep repeating um, the same things that got them in a situation. They keep repeating it, and then they got to want to change as well. So you just got so many different dynamics that's playing against them, and some people never learn. And those are the people that don't listen, and they hop in these relationships, and they even get married and thinking marriage is gonna fix everything. You got to fix yourself first, and it may not even be with that individual. You probably got to go way back to wherever, like, you stumbled at. Could have been with your parents, could have been with your father, your mother. It could have been a past relationship. So I don't think people are just self-aware enough to really know what it is that they need. So I think it has to start there, and then I think you can build relationships. If people have problems with their female friends and their male friends, will make you think that they're gonna be able to deal with somebody that's the opposite sex. So those are just my 2 cents on it.
I like when you actually give feedback, JR, because a lot of times what you say is very thought-provoking and insightful. You need to do it more often. You always be trying to lay back in the cut.
I appreciate it. It's really just trying to kind of gather and thing. I do a lot more talking when it's like one-on-one. That's when I really be in my bag, because I be saying some things sometimes and it just come in the moment. When everything is scripted, it's just like, but whenever you have like a conversation with somebody and you're able to get the context and based off experience, I don't take myself outside of everything and just look at the entire situation without swaying like one way, because there's a way that the world operates, and then there's a way that we like to operate. And so if you can, life is just about balance. If you can find a balance with anything in life, then I think you'll be all right. But if you leaning all the way this way, leaning all the way that way, it's just going to always just be, it's never going to be a balance. And you're going to find yourself in situations and a lot of disappointments. So if you can just balance everything out and understand how the world works, understand how relationships work, people work. I mean, people flake. I mean, people change. Um, People go through things. It could be a job. It can be something that happens in your marriage that may alter that person. So you got a whole new person. But if you understand that before you get there, then whenever it arrives, you're not thrown completely off. You've already told yourself on the front end, like, look, if this ever happens, this is how I'm gonna handle that situation. And somebody that's self-aware and understand how the world works and how people work, then you can be able to speak that, like, look, I know we're gonna run into some things, but this is what I'm going to absolutely do. And as far as that list, I think people should have some things that they just not going to forward on. It may be maybe somebody could be a pedophile. Somebody could uh, have gone to jail. I think people should have a list, but you got to be realistic about it. And if you're realistic about it, then I think that you can be able to work with anybody, because the things you need, you don't really find that out until you got some experience, or you just self-aware. I mean, like, you'd be surprised what it is that you appreciate about a person until you reach those hard times or those challenging moments, and that person was there for you, but you're not gonna know what that looked like because you ain't never experienced it. So it's just one of those things that you just gotta. I mean, everybody settles. It's just how much you're gonna settle for. If you that's that 70% you was talking about. I mean, that 30% might be a strong 30%. So it might not even be really 70%, because that 30% is probably what most people don't even have in life. And that's good character and integrity. If you got somebody like that and start there, then you can start adding things. And then maybe some of them other things can be altered or changed, or even maybe you can deal with it, because there are just some rare people that have good character, good integrity, that's hard workers. Same thing like health. It's if you look at the world, everybody's overweight. There are so many people that have fear. There are so many people who not willing to take risks. These people are rare. So whenever you understand what your list should entail and you find somebody that is rare, you might want to go ahead and start building with that. Like the looks fade, but so many people can't even get over the fact that this person is not the ideal person who I thought that I was going to marry. So if you really start narrowing it down and focusing on what really matters, then I think you're going to die a much happier person. Because
Can I brag? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
The person was by your bedside. When you start chasing everything else, man, it's a little suspect.
If I can, guys, I want to brag on my wife. Thank you, JR, for bringing it up. He said everybody's overweight. That includes my fat ass. But what I can say is, since she started doing her own gardening and some fruit and vegetables started to bear, I have lost 14 damn pounds eating that way. And I'm going to tell y'all, bro, man, married life is dope. It's dope. I want y'all to know. We talk about, I hear about there's no benefit for men and this and that. Shit. I still consume a lot of food and I have lost a lot of weight just by eating the way she prepares stuff and letting her do this garden. So I just want to give a shout out because I know she's about to lay it down. And she called me on my bullshit earlier because earlier in the show I said that I don't really go after women, but I was informed when I just walked away that I go after her friends pretty hard. But I had to explain. I had to explain that it's not for her friends. It's for her. If she's going to be hanging around these women, I want them moving a certain way too. The irony is one of them's about to get married. But yeah, no, I just want to give a shout out to the wife. Y'all can go ahead.
Look, since we shouting out, I gotta give a shout out to my husband and me. The reason I think I had sent it in a group text that he went out with, he had a guys' night and they all went out and the guys were all married and they were sitting around, I guess talking about their wives or whatever. Kind of like, I guess how we be like, niggas ain't shit. No, let me stop. But like talking, and he had just sent me a random text and was like, he said, "Hey, yo, we talking about wives and you are a gem." So I was like, "Oh." So I told him, "Thanks for recognizing it." Right. And then he just said, "I love you more than you even know." So I'm a good wife. But like I can appreciate, and it came after a conversation that we were having before about how when you're trying to force somebody to change, and that's just not your person. Now, if I was in this space and hearing everything that you guys are saying, I don't think that I would have found my person because I'm what he needed based on who I was, right? So I was able to meet certain needs. And now, not to say that some of the stuff that y'all saying, I don't need to adjust. I'm not saying that. He would definitely appreciate some of the things that y'all have said for me to make those adjustments. I'm working on it. But I think for the most part, what it is that a lot of times when we're in these spaces, we hear a lot of, and I'm only speaking from the woman side. We hear a lot of men in these spaces saying, we need women. If Black women would just do this, and this, right? Trying to make a blanket Black woman so y'all can just be able to choose from anyone and it'll end up being what it is that you want, versus a woman truly being who she is and attracting the man that sees the value in that, and that is added to his life. And if, so for me, I can appreciate that he accepted me who I am to my core, because he saw the value in what it was that he needed, how I would be able, like what Shan said, to compliment him. And because I do care about, even till this day, after being 20 years of marriage, I still value his opinion of me. I still, when he says things like this, it makes me want to be even a better wife. And I think that's the thing that men don't realize, is that you can set the tone in your marriage by the way that you acknowledge and appreciate. Because a woman will, you say that, oh, yeah, I mean, I cooked even extra, last week, I cooked dinner, but I did a little extra because he made me feel very appreciative. And the fact that he acknowledged. Now, I think it did take him to be around other men to kind of check him, like, oh, damn, your wife do that? Your wife do that? Man, shut up and stop complaining, right? It was kind of one of those things. And the fact that he was hearing what he was getting in relation to what was going on in other situations, he was able to appreciate it and recognize that. So, and him recognizing that made me want to be even better. So the next time you have conversation, you can say, oh, my wife stepped her game up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to do more for him. So y'all need to learn from that too.
You said we did learn from it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times it comes with expectation. Well, I'm gonna say any spaces. A lot of times what you hear what men saying is an expectation as opposed to appreciation. Your attitude is totally different when you appreciate something versus what you expect. And a lot of times I think that's where the pushback come from women. And in this moment, I felt appreciated and not taken for granted. And so because of that acknowledgement, it make you want to go even harder.
Yeah. I think just to kind of speak on these spaces too, I think people have to learn how to think independently, outside of what else is going on. You got to be able to ask questions and be able to don't believe everything everybody says. I mean, see if it makes logical sense. I like to apply logic to everything. So if it doesn't logically make sense, or I can't test it, and I said this before, then it's not going to sway. I could hear it all day. It's still not going to make me change my mind unless I see that it's a benefit for me, or I can see it's going to help whatever situation I'm in. So just because everybody's saying everything, man, just look at it, play it over in your head, just kind of like see if that's what's actually going on within your household or your life. Maybe try something out as long as it's not too extreme. And then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you don't need it, then just get right over it. I think a lot of people take some of this stuff too hard, but you also, a lot of people haven't been able to speak their mind, and this is the opportunity for them to be able to do so as well. So that's why you have a lot of people just ranting about different things, because they're actually really complaining about the things that they are not too fond with in their life. But I've always just thought independently. It's like 1,000 people could be doing this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do this because that's what I want to do, or that's why I see that works for me. And then just to add on what you were saying too, I think a lot of women do feel unappreciated at times. This is what I just heard, just speaking to different women. I hear that they don't feel appreciated, and these are good women, I would say, right? Like most of them are, because most of them spend too much time catering and trying to see what it is that their man need, that he doesn't really pay her any attention, and then that's why I think they start to feel like they want to be included, or they want to be acknowledged. And then also too, if you could dive a little deeper, some of those feelings and I forget what love language that is, but whatever the case may be, like they need to hear these things, but it stems from something that happened younger, when they was younger, that they wasn't
Words of
receiving.
affirmation.
Yeah, words of affirmation. There you go. Yeah, so it's typically stems from something that they wasn't receiving when they was younger. So it carries over into their relationship, where when they hear these things, it just means the world to them. And so I think you really have to kind of pay attention to the person that you're dealing with. And that's why you got to ask the right questions. You got to dive a little bit deeper into their life, because it gives you an idea of what type of person that you're going to be working with for the rest of your life. But if you don't know who that person is, that's what catches you off guard, because you stumble across something because y'all bumping heads, or was a situation that you guys couldn't produce or couldn't discuss because y'all never been there. But once it does happen, then you see this person responding a certain way, and you're just thrown off like, who is this person? I don't even know this person anymore. But it's stemming from something, and because y'all never had deep conversations, it just threw you off guard completely. I don't like when y'all be quiet when I get done talking, man. What's going on?
JR, you have a you have a pause similar to Ricky, where it'll sound like you're at the end, but you got a little bit more. So everybody's just sitting here waiting for that little bit more. Okay. And then you're like, no, actually, I'm done.
I mean, sometimes information be coming in my head and they be trying to throw it out all at one time. So
I also think it's just a matter of really seeking in what you said. Like, I look at it's crazy. I was saying, like, your environment affects what you're around, right? So, like, being a teacher, when you have students in a class, it can be that one student that affects the entire environment of the classroom, right? It can just shift. And when they absent, you can see the difference. What I see, like, I'm with you guys up here getting the feedback, like, I know every time we say, if men did da 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 da, if men did, and men feel attacked or feel like we're not taking accountability. And I agree that, you know, many times we don't take accountability for certain for things. But when we're in these spaces and you're saying that you need to be a leader, like men are leaders, you can't say that you want to be the leader, but then at the same time, don't set the appropriate tone. Because a lot of times women are the mirror image of whatever the energy you're giving out. So I'm just listening, like, to these conversations that we're having now, JR, with what you're saying, and people, what you're saying, everybody has been receptive. There hasn't necessarily been a whole lot of pushback because there's some knowledge to be gained from that. It's not an art. Like, I'm able to give my opinion. MJ was able to give her opinion. Y'all gave feedback to that. And it was a reciprocal kind of conversation. And I can feel like I can leave with something that I can apply, or leave with something that I can put in my back pocket to remember maybe if something else happened. And I think if we can show up like that in other spaces, then I think the conversations, you know, can maybe have more depth. But I guess my question is, how do you do that? Like, I know there are some people who are just going to be toxic and that's where they're at. But how do we do more of this so that can be represented?
Go ahead. MJ.
I just wanted to say one thing. One of the things that I realized when HD was speaking earlier is the sense of urgency. And this is why he was talking about the other form of leadership, about I don't have time to be politically correct. I don't have time to be, to utilize emotional intelligence to take in consideration so you won't be offended by me giving you what needs to be done, a directive. And I think that that's what we're also seeing here in these spaces with these men, that is coming off very toxic, because they're pretty much saying the time is now. We have no more time. We're at the end of the cliff and we're about to fall over. So there's no time for pleasantries. There's no time for me being Mr. Nice Guy. We need something to happen. And what I was trying to explain to him when we was talking is that you're not getting, even though I understand what you're saying, that time is of the essence, we need to get this right now, you're still not getting the results that you want. So we might as well just go ahead and take our time and do it correctly so we can have the long lasting results that we need, But you can go ahead, Lapeef. Thank you.
Oh, no, I would just, I mean, I can't piggyback off of, I could, but what I was just going to say is just seeing how the dialogue goes, just from a moderator perspective, is that people have short attention spans. And so the reason why we typically tell people not to be long-winded is because you can lose people, like even lose the people that's on the panel. So that's why I tell people whenever they say stuff, just speak for about a minute and 20 seconds, minute and 40 seconds, and then you can always come back around and say what it is you're going to say, because you'll be surprised how you'll lose people. And some people tones are just dry. So my tone may be dry. Y'all may not like hearing my tone, but some people tones are dry. And then some people you can listen to all day, but you can't really speak on whose tone is who because it's all subjective. But you can kind of look at people's faces and see who's really engaged when that person speaks, because they know how to articulate themselves well. And it's just something about the tone of their voice and what they saying. So in order to kind of keep it safe and keep conversations flowing, I think the 1 minute and 20 second, 1 minute and 40 second, and then you can always get your word back around, because then the conversation is going, it's moving in different places, and then a conversation is actually happening instead of a monologue.
I'll do better, JR. I'm gonna try.
I wasn't talking about you, and not just you.
But I can take the message.
I agree with JR. I didn't think that you was taking a long time, and I enjoyed your, it's refreshing. I enjoy your standpoint. And what my biggest thing is, what I notice, most people will stay engaged into a conversation, even if it is a little bit long-winded. They'll stay engaged, but they don't want to be talked at. They want to feel like they are actually participating in the conversation. Nobody wants to be talked at. So I think that's why your tone, the level of vibration, that energy that's coming off will actually keep people, focused, and it will expand their, their intent, their attention span. It will actually enlarge, because they're feeling like they're a part of the conversation and not just like sitting up there listening to a sermon per se.
Yeah. But it's all about understanding too, and you got to pitch into your audience as well. Because some people, when they talk, they start looking up and looking away, and they're not really seeing what's going on. But if you talk to the people, and you can actually see when you losing a couple people, and that's all it takes is a couple people, and then, or you see some people might be kind of holding their breath, like, because they want to say something. You got some people that just have to say something every single time. So I just sit back and I just observe and I look. Even when we did the live shows, it's just amazing. I'm like, damn, I love the stage, because you can actually, when you talk, you can see people, and you can kind of interact with their body language. You can know when to turn it up a little bit, turn it down. It's just it's something about being in that arena where all eyes on you. Because I don't mind being in a room like that, but I just think we just got to be mindful. And the only reason why I say this is not because nobody is speaking facts or saying the truth. It's just understanding the audience on the panel, because the panel is the one that got to carry the conversation for the audience. And so you don't want to lose the panel, because then when you lose people, then it's just going to be one or two people that's just talking, because everybody else done got tired out from just sitting there waiting on whomever to get done speaking. So that's why you just want to just be intentional to be fair with the mic and not to cut people off, so the conversation can keep flowing, and making sure that we're not attacking, and actually, because we all speaking from our own personal experience. I don't think nobody's right or wrong. It's just like what makes sense for you. Like, what can you take away from the conversation? And you can say, well, these are the 5 things that I took away from the conversation, and everything else, and it's cool, right? Because like nobody's right and nobody's wrong. We all trying to figure it out. That's the goal. We're trying to figure out what information can we take from this discussion that's going to help us. People always say we talk about celebrities. Well, those people that's in the light, so what, they're celebrities, but how can we carry this conversation to our own personal lives, and what are some of the takeaways? So I do think we got to be a little bit more intentional about what we spewing out too. Because, we can complain, but then like, why are you complaining? Or even the people that's on the panel, we not even asking like the right questions back. We'll just say, okay. Every now and then somebody be like, wait, I got a question about that. Because somebody say something, but we don't question like, well, like, why did you do that? Why did you leave? Why did you respond that way? Why do you feel that way? So we can go deeper with the discussion. So like maybe we might need to have smaller discussions so that we can really thoroughly hash it out. Because I hear people say, I really wanted to say something, but we moved on from it. So maybe I might just hold like hour discussions. I might do that. Maybe I start it next week or something. Just one thing, hot hour, and then we out.
I remember when I first started these panels, I didn't because I didn't have the experiences that I saw in these spaces. None of these experiences were my experiences. I grew up as an athlete, went to college as an athlete, so things were very different for me. So I remember the first few panels, I'd sweat. I literally was sweating if you actually go back a year and a half, because I'm like, man, the chat is about to wear my ass out because I don't agree with these experiences that these people are talking about. And I've always, in my experience, women have always been easy, so to speak, not like not easy but easy to deal with. And I hear a lot of the commentary in this space, and I'm just like, how is it so difficult? What are you doing as an individual that makes it so difficult to find and get what you're looking for? That's never been a problem of mine. So I remember coming in and I'm like, shit, here we go. And after our second show, I actually got an email with this dude cussed me up and down, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? How did you even get my email? It was something I wasn't used to any of that. But then I think after about 2 or 3 months, I was like, you know what? F it. However you feel is how you feel. This is my experience. This is my perspective. And if you don't agree, you don't have to agree. But I'm going to try to give you some nuggets to help you as an individual. Maybe you can take away something and grow from it. And once that happened, I started working on my cadence, and I'm still working on it. But yeah, I appreciate you, JR, for actually opening this space and making it available so that we can have these conversations and try to unify and unite the community, even if we're not all seeing things the same way. So I just always wanted to give you that shout out. Appreciate it, brother.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you for giving that compliment. Just gotta start caring what people really think, man. I mean, people always got something to say. I heard so much shit about me. I don't care. I don't care about what people really think, what people really say, because when I sign off, I'm living my life the way that I want to. I didn't have an agenda when I started doing podcasting. It was just really just having like tough conversations. And I wouldn't even really call it a podcast. I just wanted to just have some talks, get folks together. When I first started off, it was supposed to be just all men. It was supposed to be all just men. And then somebody kept saying, you need a woman input. I'm like, So I put somebody on that I went to college with. I put her on there. Actually, I was doing straight audio only. And then I had a woman on there that was, it was Gino's, one of his friends, because he was part of the podcast. Because it was just really me, B Nick. Well, me and Gino. And then it wound up being me, Gino, and B Nick's. And we were just doing audio only. And I knew me and Gino's personality didn't really, I'm like, this ain't gonna cut it. Because I know my personality and I know his personality. So we need somebody else. And so when I asked B Nixon, and he just started doing it with us. And so he kind of threw it together. Then they said we needed a woman. So then I added a woman. And then from that point on, like, I just started like meeting people. And everybody wanted to kind of be a part of what I was doing. It was the vision. Because it was actually like less talk It was actually just Let's Talk. And then people wanted me to change Let's Talk. And then what I did was I created other shows so that other people, so I wouldn't have to change Let's Talk. Because I'm like, I want to leave Let's Talk the way it is. And then I'll create some other shows that other people can enjoy. Then that way I could try to satisfy people. Then I start to learn you can't satisfy everybody. Because no matter what I did, everybody always complain. So I'm just like, it is what it is. I'm just going to just do it. Do this way, do this that way. And whatever you like, you like. Whatever you don't like, then you just don't like. I never really cared about the comments because you're never going to be able to satisfy anybody. So that's why I tell people don't pay attention to the comments, because then you're going to start becoming that person. All I did was just blend personalities together. I went to barber school for a little bit, and the main thing was about that taper, where you can just blend that line out. And the more you had that line blended where it was just non-visible, like the better taper you had. Ball fades all around. So I did the same thing with people. I would tell people, like, I don't need you to be this extraordinary person. I just need you to be you. Unfortunately, people's personalities began to alter because they was trying to be what the audience want them to be instead of them being who they want to be. I mean, who they were and what I saw in them. So all I did was just blend personalities together, and that was really like the formula. I seen something like, oh no, this ain't gonna work. Oh, that ain't gonna work. But this person does this good. Oh, okay. Well, we need this, we need that, and that was the magic of actually putting the show together. Because I looked at it like it was like a play, and it wasn't scripted. I just wanted everybody to come there and just be them, truthfully them, and honest with it, and answer as honestly as possible based off of their experience. So.
Well, I rock with you. So
yes, and I thank you, because I'm like really still new to this space. I heard of the name and I heard other people's opinions of the space, but to actually deal with it on my own and see for myself, I actually appreciate it. I like the atmosphere, so I appreciate it.
I mean, things change. I mean,
this used to be all girls. All girls period. I'm feeling you, MJ. I love your energy. And it's just making me think about that whole concept all over again. But now it's too late, because now we got AP, we got Mark. Like, now y'all are staples after we, kind of shifted from the all girls thing. But I love your energy, MJ.
I appreciate it. I love yours too. Very good energy. I love the conversation. I love the dialogue. We weren't all in agreement about everything, but it was very mature. And that's what I've been looking for a very long time. So thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and say good night. But again, thank you, Mr. Lapeef, for allowing me to come on.
Anytime.
Enjoy. And it was so nice meeting you, Miss Mistaking, and Mr. AP, and Mrs. Shamona, and Mr. HD. I appreciate you all and everybody in the chat. Y'all have a lovely night, okay?
You too, MJ.
Thank you.
Good night, sis.
Good night, everybody.
All right, let me get this real quick. Harrison Davis, $10 salute. Y'all have a fantastic night. Congo English, $20 is great. Topic JR. This is not my topic. This is Shamona's topic. I just came by to show some love, no drama, and add a resolution. Lastly, Miss Polly, $2 said, nice to see y'all tonight.
Thank you, guys.